It's 9:01, call the meeting to order. We do have a quorum, and Ed, you're authorized to vote, at least pending late arrivals.
Deb, neither Carolyn nor Deb are coming.
Ah.
Right, so
Okay.
I think we...
Okay, then you're set. And we didn't hear from Tammy, but...
Tammy's not coming.
Okay.
We did hear, but...
Okay.
Sorry.
Is there a motion to approve the minutes of the June meeting?
I'll make a motion to approve June 5th meeting minutes. Second.
Okay, Russ. Todd moves, Ed Pinn seconds. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
And Ed, I think I saw wave his hand, so it's 4-0. No dissenters or abstainers. Public comment. Gee, I guess not. I wonder in the next few minutes if we have time, Martha, can you do your secretary's report
So, yeah.
You've got all of eight minutes.
Okay. So, I went through the C of A's for the last couple of years to find out if there are any that had expired, and we do have two. One for 38 Lime Street, which is the little house.
Yep.
It's been under renovation for several years.
Forever?
Do you have the owner's name in your head?
David Vitale.
Vitale, great.
He hasn't been working for the last month or month and a half.
Even longer, yeah.
Yeah.
And then also 97 Lime Street, the Golden Shed. They haven't started. He approved that in 2021, and they just put it on hold.
Okay.
Well, I guess my suggestion would be to notify both of them, and with 38, say, if you want to, in the future, well, I don't know how, leave it up to them as to whether to apply for renewal.
Do they have to reapply? I mean, do they have to reapply, or do we just renew it?
Well, we would renew it, but I think we should get an update about whether they plan to
Change the plan.
install.
And maybe not do the payment, or...
Well, I'm just saying,
Yeah.
say your C of A is expired, if you want to renew it, let us know.
Yeah. In the past, we've just asked for an update, and
Yeah.
then we've let them continue, as long as there weren't any major changes.
Okay, that's a good idea.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
Mine usually come in and talk about it. Dave Vitale is always very
Yeah.
nice about it.
Mm-hmm.
But Vitale, I don't think we can leave in half-constructed condition. I'm just saying with the shed, if they ever decide not to do it at all.
Well, no, you're talking about Todd Brink at 97. We're talking about
No,
that, right?
I think, John, you're speaking about 38.
38.
I thought, I've got the directions confused, sorry.
So 38, we're going to do as you suggest, Martha, that we've done in the past, which is ask them to update it and let us know of any changes. Yeah.
Okay, and then for 97, which is the shed.
Right.
Just inquire if they're going to start it at some point, or...
Yeah, just say your C of A has expired. If you plan on the shed, let us know so we can renew the C of A.
Right.
Leave the ball more in their court rather than asking for a specific timetable. It would be nice to know from Vitale what the anticipated timetable is. Well, maybe you could ask that as well.
You mean on 38?
38. Yes, he does.
More coffee. Sorry. Okay.
Go.
So, most of what we have outstanding is either underway or on the agenda. The work at 55 Line Street has been, I believe it's been finished. That was a rear entry, we did that little entry in the back.
At the Historic Society?
Yeah.
That's done in the walkway?
And the walkway, yeah. Yeah, and 76 Line Street, the chimney removal, that project is still underway as far as I know.
Okay.
They have until February.
That's Hummerville, right?
Yeah. Yep, 78 Line Street, the outbuilding renovations, that's all finished.
What is the name? What's the name of the owners of 78?
Dennison,
Dennison.
yeah.
Okay.
And then for 84 Line Street, they want to redo their handicap ramp, but they didn't have the plans ready for this meeting, so they're going to come before us in September, I think.
And the doorways in the back?
And the doors, yeah. They want to put in some better security doors and some new locks.
Who is that?
Lime Academy.
Lime Academy, okay.
Yeah. And they also have an issue with their signs, some of their signs dangling over the sidewalk.
Yeah,
That's a zoning?
that's a zoning.
Yeah. The Lime Art Association skylights, I don't know if those have been put in yet or not.
Wasn't that in the fundraiser this week?
I think there's,
Still working
maybe
on it.
they've done it and now they're raising money.
for it. Yeah.
Yeah, they have until November.
Okay,
So
right.
they have plenty of time. Florence Grizzle Museum signs, they have until February to change those out. And I think
I noticed they made a change in one sign and didn't come to us. Would that require a like for like if they've changed the wording? This was the small sign.
Which one?
The little, there's the big entrance sign and then there's a little sign which used to say, follow us on Instagram and Twitter, and they've changed that to say, I don't know what, Cafe Flow is open or something like that.
I would think the content wouldn't
Yeah.
fall under our jurisdiction as long as the design of the sign hasn't
Size
changed.
and the design should be,
Similar.
Yeah, but except we do technically have, say, over size of lettering, for example.
Did not know that.
And I
Well,
always understood
yeah.
on public roads, you can't put, .com, you can't put internet addresses.
Yeah, but that's off.
Is it off on Route 1?
No, it's off on the Florence Griswold sign. They've changed that sign.
Oh, you took the Twitter down. Mhm.
Yeah.
That's probably why.
Well, just talk to them when they come in.
Right.
I mean, presumably they're going to come in
Yeah.
before Wee Ferry Village. Should I remind them about that? I mean, that's what Deb Moore said last time she was here.
Yeah, I mean, why not?
Okay.
By then we'll have a sign policy, maybe.
If the design of the sign has changed, and if text dimension is part of the design of the sign, then it seems to me that if they've changed that, then we would need to review it. Right. In other words, the design of the sign, not the content.
Right.
So if if the content has changed, that's fine.
But if it's the same size and
Same size,
material,
material, and-
same location.
I mean, I just remember we discussed it with Homeward Collective because they obviously were changing the name. They said the letters will be the same size. In other words, it's
Same with the architects at the, in the red building.
right.
They put new content inside the original.
right. Yeah, you're right.
All right, so I will get in contact with Florence Griswold about Wee Ferry Village, because they have to come in September because it's in the month of October. So, okay. Is there more?
The only other thing is 100 Lime Street, the Caretaker's Cottage project.
Is ongoing. Okay.
You mean the RTPC?
Yeah.
Yeah.
What about the signs at RTPC, the
Framework.
book signs?
That,
Is that gone?
Fizzled?
So there's
I
not
think
a C, there's not a
I think
C
it's
there.
possible
They
that
never
that's
formally submitted an
Okay,
application.
all right.
Yes.
Yep,
we asked for more information, more detail, and it just kind of,
got it, okay.
It might be,
for now.
For now, yeah.
Yeah.
well,
Okay.
okay, good.
Misha's gonna call at 9:15.
Oh, 9:15, okay, that's fine.
3 minutes.
What should we talk about? Maybe we could spend a minute just thinking about what specific questions, if any, we want to make sure Misha touches on.
Yeah, that's good.
The main one, the only one really on my list is for the sign policy, I'd like to incorporate lighting on signs as part of that sign policy that we're discussing.
I think that would be extremely useful to do it in one communication.
Maybe you could specify the color and
Heat,
What?
the Kelvin.
Temperature, Kelvin, yeah.
so that if you're looking up and down the street, you don't have
Mhm.
bright white, soft white.
Fluorescent.
I noticed the place across the street from me, directly across, not directly, just to the left, has really bright lights on.
My across the street neighbors do too. The other thing too is security lights. I think he discussed that at our lecture at the library.
Right.
But I think, that his presentation on the fact that security lights aren't as secure as people think they are. So I think that's something that we might be able to address along here too.
Right.
There is a preponderance of security lights.
Right.
So,
Well,
Individual property
Mhm.
lights.
I guess the question is there a total light output for a property, right? There's color temperature, and then there's the example of, I think we had something come up with a fence post with a light for a sidewalk, and just kind of, is there a design, should the Historic Commission have a design recommendation for fixture type?
I think it would be a great question to ask him, and that was really my question, is has he had experience in neighborhoods such as this, historic districts?
Right.
And what are those regulations, or does he have advice on those regulations?
Right.
Should
For
we-
example, at the village shops across from me, the sign is appropriately lit as it comes down and lights either side of that. But then there's a light on top of the post that just big white light
Right.
that shines across the building. And so that is the sort of light that, and in fact the church, has a very much more
Right.
powerful one of those. But
Right.
that type of lighting, what are his recommendations on that?
Right.
And
Should we ask these questions up front to make sure he touches on them?
Yeah, I think so. I think it'd be good to say,
Would you be willing to?
address like these 3 points as part of your talk, so he knows what we're interested in.
And probably, commercial
Oh, he
establishments.
should be on now.
Commercial establishments may have a different set of, regulations. The schools, the church, the town hall, maybe that's something different than residential property owners.
Okay.
Some of the standards I've read, that's true, so, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I'll pass the baton to you very briefly at the beginning to highlight those issues.
Temp, output.
Misha, are you on? It's not. Are you sure this is on? We've got this on?
Could be.
Okay.
Can we call in?
Well, we'll give him a little grace period.
There.
Good morning, everyone. Can you hear me?
Hi, Misha.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Okay, we have here Ed Penn and Deanie Mallory. I'm John Noyce and Russ Todd. And we...
Hi, is this where the Historic District Commission is meeting?
Yes.
Hello?
And yeah, hi. And
Okay, great.
we appreciate your being with us. Russ wanted to just very briefly highlight a couple issues of particular concern for us, and hopes you can touch on those.
Yeah.
So, hi, Misha. It's Russ. It's good to
Hi.
thank you for being here. I think is that your music? Hello,
Hello?
Misha. Are you still there?
Yes. Yes, I can hear you. I don't know.
Music, and maybe you go away.
Yeah, I don't know what's going on. It keeps trying to kick me off. Hopefully
Okay, all right. So as a historic district commission, we're trying to understand what, if any, type of regulation or code might be appropriate that we might support. And I guess there's 3 or 4 topics that we would love for you to kind of highlight in your talk here. The question about color temperature for a historic district, a question about overall output on a property of light emission, and does that vary depending on whether the property is residential, commercial, or public, for example, and then any recommendations you might have on, as a historic district commission, on defining fixture types that reduce light emission or control light emission that are in keeping with the dark sky concept. Those are 3 or 4 points that we would love to hear you speak about. I'm sure you have some others. And
particularly with the fixture types, lighting on signs and security lighting.
Sure.
I hope we haven't upset your whole presentation, but the floor is yours.
Okay. Great. Well, I'll just preface this by saying this is something that I've been very passionate about and working on through the Gateway Commission. But I would say if you want to drill down into numerical details, International Dark Sky Association's model code is definitely the place to go. And I can also put you guys in touch with Leo Smith, who's the International Dark Sky Association's sort of main champion in Connecticut. And he's done a fabulous job of trying to get these codes written and implemented. So he's also a great resource who we relied on a lot when we were doing our research for Gateway. So I'll sort of start by saying if there are things I don't know, he certainly knows them. But yeah, I guess as a high-level introduction, I sent out that one-pager from Gateway that we compiled, so hopefully that makes sense on sort of why light pollution is particularly problematic where we live, along the Connecticut River in sort of this incredible estuary that, unlike most others along the eastern seaboard, is in a fairly undeveloped condition and is also a migratory pathway. So as we now know from a lot of studies, excessive light at night confuses migrating birds, changes insect movement patterns, and that means that the animals that eat insects also have to change their behaviors. It changes the migration of plankton in water bodies so that they stay below the surface when there's bright light being shown onto the water. And then, of course, it inhibits our own view of the night sky, which, living in somewhat more rural communities, I think we'd like to have as part of our experience, even just culturally. So all those different things, I think, are of course, good reasons for us to consider this and think about integrating it into standards, whether that's for the gateway zone or for historic districts. So main sort of things to think about, you mentioned color temperature, and that is an important one. When we look at the effects of artificial lighting on any organisms, really, whether that's humans or frogs, we see that really high color temperatures are going to cause the most disruption to circadian cycles. So keeping color temperatures around 2500 Kelvin, and certainly not above 3000 Kelvin, I think is a really important step. And I think the good news for a historic district is that you're trying to emulate gas lamps. You're trying to simulate incandescence. So the kinds of bright white, 5000 Kelvin LEDs or fluorescents that are usually problematic, I imagine you wouldn't be using on a historic structure anyway. And in any case, having a light temperature restriction in a historic district set of regulations is perfectly consistent with the historic intent as well as with the light pollution and health intent. So I think that's an easy one. As far as lumen limits, which you were asking about, sort of how much light can be on a property, that's something, again, I refer to the International Dark Sky Association's model code, which, you can look in there. It's downloadable from their website. And you can see they break it down by lighting zone. So LZ0 is like very rural and totally dark. LZ1 is like a small town. LZ2, so there's a scale from 0 to 4, basically. And based on which zone you're in, they give you a suggestion for the amount of lumens allowed per parking spot, per hardscape, per outdoor lighting, and per residential property. So again, I think they've done really great research on this. So as an example, in LZ1, I imagine old Lyme would probably be 1 or 2. In LZ1, which is sort of not quite 0, it's sort of somewhat developed, their model code allows you to have 420 lumens at your entry door, 1,200 lumens total for your property, illuminating the house outside, 300 max for unshielded floodlight, and then not allowed for landscape lighting. Once you get into lighting zone 2, you have an allowance of 1,000 for landscape lighting. So those lumen numbers, I think, are a good starting point, and you can kind of work off of those. And as I said, that code does include both residential and non-residential. So, of course, for non-residential, you're talking about parking and maybe utility areas. So there's a sort of separate provision for that. But again, they do have specific limits. For example, they said, in lighting zone 1, you can have 400 lumens per space. In lighting zone 2, you have 600. So again, I think it's about calibrating that to this particular historic district, but that's totally doable. The other thing I mentioned, the amount of light, which is the lumens, the color of the light. Timing is another thing, so making sure that if there are floodlights that go on, that they're on timers or motion detectors, so they're on when they need to be, but not otherwise. And then the last thing, of course, is the actual design of the fixture and the shape and how it distributes the light. So we want to make sure that all the fixtures are full cutoff fixtures so that no one is staring at a light bulb. And I think that's one area where there is a difference between historic lighting as we know it and some of these better fixtures, because traditionally we have gas lamps, where you can see the flame, or imitation gas lamps with light bulbs that you can see. And if it's a nice warm color and it's not too bright, that's okay. But with some of the brighter lights, it's really problematic and causes a lot of glare and light pollution. So we want to make sure that we can have fixtures that still look historic, but they're designed in such a way that the light isn't cast anywhere but where it needs to be, which is usually, down on the entry or on the sidewalk or, the area of landscape that you want to keep lit. So there are some good designs for this with LEDs now. You've probably seen a lot of historic, a lot of towns have like globe lights, for example, but instead of having the light bulb in the middle of the globe, the light is coming from a little LED on the top, so all the lighting is being shown down. And again, that's pretty easy to find now. Manufacturers have dark sky compliant fixtures for pretty much anything, so it's just a matter of requiring that. And many towns have done that. If you look at Westbrook, in their zoning regulations, they have a specific description of the kinds of fixtures that businesses can and can't have. And that's taken pretty much directly from the International Dark Sky Association's model code. So again, I'll refer back to that model code. But again, I think our addition as the Gateway Commission to this conversation has been some more thorough documentation of how this specifically affects the ecology of our region. So I think hopefully I've answered most of your questions, but what else can I help shed light on? No pun intended.
That's great. Misha, that's great. One question I had is the Gateway Commission, if I understand, the Zoning Commission in Old Lyme adopted the Gateway Commission application that was submitted, and it applies to an area that is, my understanding, to the west side of Lime Street. Mostly the west. Yeah. Is that correct?
The gateway zone is loosely defined as about 500 feet from the river or its estuaries. So anything along the Lieutenant River is considered an estuary. So that's all included in the gateway zone. But each town drew its own boundaries when the zone was established, 50 years ago. So you have to look at the map specifically to see. But
I guess the point of my question is so part of that is in the historic district, right? And there's part of the historic district that's not in that zone. Would it be of any benefit besides from the historic district commission's point of view, but would it be any benefit from your point of view to have that extend to the full width of the historic district? What was approved there?
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. The more you can get covered, the better. But I guess I just want to be clear. We didn't really adopt. There's nothing regulatory really in the language that was adopted. It's simply inserting a definition of light pollution into the zoning for the town. So that definition applies to the entire town, regardless of whether it's gateway or not, because it's in the definitions. In zoning. Okay. At least that's my understanding. That's how we did it in Essex, and I would imagine that's how Old Lyme did it as well. But you could check. You can check, as the definition say specifically for the purposes of the gateway standards, or is it general? The way we did it in Essex is it's a general definition. But that's it, right? We got the towns to insert a definition, and then 4 site plan reviews in the gateway zone, which are proposals for projects over 4,000 square feet. We just added it, basically that we and the zoning commission need to consider light pollution as part of that application. So there's no numbers, there's no specific things people can and can't do. We're just asking everyone to consider it, which is a bit loosey-goosey, but that's kind of what we can do universally, and then we encourage towns to adopt stricter rules themselves. So I would say Old Lyme should look into adopting something like the model lighting ordinance for the whole town, and that would solve a lot of issues and apply to everything. Because the gateway standards are simply a definition and a suggested standard. They don't really have teeth or numerical boundaries or limits.
Misha, hi, it's Deanie.
Hi.
Are you aware of any towns with historic districts that have adopted these regulations in our sort of general area?
That's a good question. Westbrook has them, but I don't know that Westbrook necessarily has a historic district. I don't know if Charlestown has a historic district, but they have a really good lighting standard there.
They do. They're very concerned with the dark sky. Yeah, Charlestown. That's a good recommendation. Charlestown, Rhode Island.
Oh, Rhode Island.
It's right up there. Yeah.
Yeah, and I know they have, they've adopted the lighting ordinance, and they've even specifically defined light pollution as involving light that's cast into the water, which is something that we've found to be important. So I would definitely look at their code and maybe reach out to their historic district and find out how they're complying with it. Because they're definitely at the forefront of that.
Okay.
And just to clarify the point before that, I'm a little confused on this gateway zone reg. It is applicable only to houses 4,000 square feet and larger? Is that what you said?
That's right. Yep.
Oh, okay.
So in a historic district, generally speaking, the houses are smaller.
Yes.
So.
Yeah.
So I think you're gonna.
And that's new construction too. And
Right.
It's a different.
It's in a
Historic
different.
is a completely different situation.
So if your regulations are applying, or guidelines are applying to buildings that are over 4,000 feet,
Yes.
or square feet, that doesn't really embrace
No.
Our mission.
It sounds to me as though we may want to look at some of these model
Yes,
regs.
the model regs.
Yes,
yeah.
I think that would be the way to go. As I said, the reason that we really have focused on this effort is just to get the towns to have the definition of light pollution as a starting point, and then we need people like you guys to step in and actually adopt standards with teeth, standards that actually have enforceable lumen limits and fixture design, requirements and all that. Just because we, as a Gateway Commission, when we adopt zoning language, all 8 towns have to agree to it and adopt it. And unfortunately, there are towns with zoning enforcement officers who said, I can't do anything beyond what I'm doing, so don't give me a lighting standard. That's the conversation each town has to have on its own, and all we can do is just encourage that, which we're doing now. So hopefully, if you guys can figure out a good model lighting code, then other towns in our area will embrace it as well.
Well, our jurisdiction, of course, is limited to the historic district, but
Yes.
It could potentially be adopted.
Yeah, it could be of interest
More widely.
to other areas, other
Yeah.
neighborhoods.
Mitch, I had one specific question.
Yeah, go for it.
And maybe you don't have to answer right this second. So I'm thinking about this issue of trying to have a historic light where it's visible, the gas light. Is there a Kelvin and output that might be still acceptable even with full vision of the light source in a historic mode? In other words, if we're going to see the bulb, is there a Kelvin color temperature that kind of emulates a historic look, and also an output that would be appropriate?
Yeah, I mean, these things definitely exist, and I would say some of the LED technologies now, they can flicker and have the color of a light, which is nice.
Right.
I mean, I think if you match the lumens and the general color to an actual flame, then that's not all that bright.
Right.
So, yeah, I mean, if you want the actual look of the flame without the flame itself, then there are certainly LEDs that can do that, and flame is like very warm, 2,500 Kelvin or lower. So you just want to get that lower color temperature, and I think that kind of fixture you're not even really using for illuminating per se. It's more decorative, right?
Brick fixtures or historic type fixtures along Lime Street where we would never want to say that you can't see that bulb.
Right. Right.
And it seems to me that any code, if we were to consider one, would make an allowance for that. That's all. Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah. Okay.
Any other questions for now?
No, we really appreciate your taking the time, Misha.
Of course.
Misha, I would like, maybe you could email Russ the contact information for this fellow you...
Oh, for Leo? Absolutely, yeah. I'll forward his info to you guys.
Okay. All right, well, we appreciate it, and thanks.
Great.
Thank you
Happy
for
to
all
help.
your work your work and energy on this mission. It's really appreciated. Thank you.
Yeah, it really
Well,
make a
please,
difference.
keep me posted on what you guys come up with, and I hope that it can be a model for other parts of our state.
Great.
Great.
All right.
Okay,
Thank you. Have a great
Thanks, Ed,
day.
for organizing.
Thank you, Ed. Yeah.
Well, let's just take a minute to talk about next steps. In particular, issues relating to signs, because it would be good to work that into our proposed revisions of sign policy. Do you think you could, by the special meeting, work up some language applicable to signs?
Yeah, I think that we should look at the dark sky code. We should also look at any other historic district that might be applying the code.
I can contact I have a contact in Charlestown.
That's great.
I can do that piece
good.
of it.
Yeah,
Just
and-
to see if they've done anything more specific.
Right, and then in other words, if we were to adopt in the historic district an overall code that language for a lighting code would be in keeping with what a future
Right.
code might be. It would be the way I would approach it.
But I mean, from my immediate perspective, that overall code is the next step, maybe.
That's what I'm saying, but what I'm saying is that the sign, anything that we would say with the sign would be appropriate to a future
Right.
code,
It would be great.
in keeping with it.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Assuming that we're going to try and complete the sign policy at our special meeting in August, it would be helpful to have a few points that we might be able to add to it on terms of fixtures and direction of bulbs and color and
Right.
heat, something.
I think we should look at, I mean, specifically, I think we should look at the Zone 1 and Zone 2
Yes.
requirements in the dark sky, and see what the color temperature and light output recommendations are for that, and see if it would be appropriate to adopt some of that language into the lighting code.
Are we going to know which of those areas we are? He said he thought Old Lyme was probably LV1 or 2. How would we find that out?
Well, I think we have to look at it. In other words, what I heard just on that brief description is that the LZ2 allows for landscape lighting, and LZ1 does not. So I think there may be other factors.
Well,
there. So we need to review it.
Yeah, my guess is it would be LV2, but we need to
Right.
look at it.
And is
That's right.
that in the dark sky? That's in the dark sky.
Yes.
Yes, that's right.
Yeah.
Was that in the model code?
Yes, yeah,
And are you willing to?
yes,
take
I'm
a
willing
look at
to,
that?
I'm willing to do that.
Thank you.
And I'll be prepared for the August meeting with recommendations based on the code and the historic other district research.
That's really great, Russ.
Yeah.
Thank you. And I'll be in touch with Charlestown as soon as I can and
Yep.
see if we can get anything that informs it. Yeah.
All right. Well, we're 6 minutes early, but if you're ready to go, we can do that.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Terry DeVoe here from DeVoe.
I'm David.
So let's see, last month when we met, we discussed, we have two things today. We've got to address the stone material that we used on 47 Lime Street, which is why we're here today. So we submitted supplemental information on that, on the stone sizes, in our application packet.
For the driveway.
That was for the driveway edging. And that was based on an approval that you had done at the June 5th meeting.
Yes.
So we submitted that information, so you have that?
And lovely pictures.
Oh, yeah, well, we took our pictures. So you got both sides.
Is this the new submission? I also have one from last month.
So this, what we submitted is supplement to what we did last month.
The data size. Okay.
Yeah, so that
So
gives you
this am I correct? We approved, we just requested this.
the information, and you wanted to know the length of, the material we used.
23rd May,
Right.
this is what we approved last month.
But we asked for this supplemental
Right,
information.
right. So
Okay.
this one's
So this
separate.
needs to just go in the file with
This-
that.
With that approval, yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
And the other issue.
So the other issue was, we are here to address the change in the material. We had an approval for the front walk to be used to have,
I'm sorry,
Yeah.
I'm looking for this is just the driveway. Is that
correct, that's the supplement information.
this we,
That's supplemental to this,
Correct,
to what we approved, and yes.
that's correct.
and so do we have a C of A application for the new sidewalk material?
Yes, we do, that's the second, we're here for the application.
Oh, this one?
Yes, this is the new one.
Okay.
This
Straight.
belongs with this last month.
That's correct.
Okay.
More coffee.
Yes.
A lot of paper.
Okay.
A lot of paper, yeah, I know, David, I had explained, David, so now what I'm okay. All right, so that's the driveway.
The second one addresses the fact when when we initially,
No, it's
I don't
okay.
want to say the wrong thing.
No.
Go ahead.
So, the application today addresses the change in material based on an approval that was different than the material that was installed.
For the walk.
For the front walkway, exactly.
Initially, it was intended to be a metal edge.
Right.
It got
And
installed
And it switched.
as a
Yeah.
cobblestone
Correct.
edge.
Yeah. Okay, we asked you to come back, remember?
To address that
This
change.
is the C of A. We
Yeah.
haven't approved
No.
the stone on the
So
sidewalk.
we're here for that change in material that was previously approved. As was installed, we've got natural cobblestone now in lieu of the metal edge, and that was a field decision that was made. The stone size is the same as along the driveway, so we have that size there. We do have some pictures, and we gave you the linear length of that edging, and it's installed flush to the surface on each side of the walkway.
So unlike the sidewalk that we stick up.
Correct.
Correct.
The driveway sticks up about an inch and a half, maybe 2 inches. One on the photograph has, actually, I'm referring to the wrong submittal. The other one the driveway application has a photograph of the driveway.
So this one is,
actually just
yeah,
the
so
walkway.
you can see it's flush.
Yeah.
The
this is
lawn,
flush
the
of it.
lawn is now gonna grow.
So lawnmowers can run right over it.
So one of the new developments is the owners, since we were out there walking with them, they have decided that they would like to remove the edging just
Right.
just between the walkway and the sidewalk.
That would be helpful.
I
So
think so too.
the tricky part there is.
They want to remove that little piece.
Is the sidewalk
Right there,
is not, perfectly level, versus the walkway to the houses, and they're at a slightly skewed. So you have a tripping? Right, so Mason spoke with me last week about this, and he said the reason that cobblestone was done there is he can get a little bit of a fudge factor in here to level up, this stone versus when it meets up against the sidewalk. So, when I spoke with him, initially they're gonna try to, if they have to bevel the edge of the bluestone, they see if they can do that. Otherwise, he's suggesting maybe we replace these stones with a bluestone of the similar size, like cobbles of bluestone, that would give him that flexibility to level it. So it would.
I don't understand cobbles of bluestone.
So these are.
I think a bluestone is.
Correct.
Slab.
So these are granite cobblestones, and he could actually make 3-inch thick bluestone chunks like cobblestones. He could fabricate those and use those in the same application, but it would be a bluestone color
Material.
rather than a granite stripe. it would visually read consistent with the
Yeah.
Bluestone, yeah.
Exactly.
And that's what we don't like. We don't like this
Yeah.
separation
Yeah.
strip.
Yeah, I agree.
So that, the bottom line goal is to get rid of the granite strip and replace it with a bluestone material. So it's a similar color.
Yeah, the metal edging, you would have had an issue with that too.
Right.
Yeah.
So that's the hard thing, is we're going from a slightly angled or sloped surface to a square surface. But I'm sure it's solvable. It's just a matter of just kind of finessing the corners so that we don't have little toe
Yeah, so
catchers.
visually, exactly, I think it softens the,
The steel edge,
The steel edge was going to be along either side.
it calls less attention to the sidewalk than the cobblestone.
most definitely.
Yeah.
Most definitely.
I do think removing that piece at the edge
Yeah.
would make a difference, because the grass will fill in around and
Yeah.
soften the whiteness of the cobbles along the side. Yeah.
Yeah, I agree.
But you're still gonna have these, okay, that's just lighter here, those are not strips like the
Correct.
second stone.
That's all bluestone, and it's just variation. I think I was there, it probably photographed it when it was wet. Looks a little reflective up by the,
Another-
yeah, the sprinkler's still on the lawn here.
There's another photo, I don't,
Yeah, the second photo is just more intended just to show that it's all really the one level surface, that it's,
It's not standing up, it doesn't.
and I think to your point too, the lawn will
It will.
kind of migrate over it, so.
yeah, actually, when we first were addressing this, I went on and took photographs, and the lawn had just been planted, and I said, oh boy, that does not look good. So we went back, and after the grass came in, it's really softened it all up quite nicely.
So what is being proposed, I guess, is the C of A? Is it that you're removing, it's everything that we see there except for you're removing this and putting a bluestone? Is that what we're being asked of?
Yeah, we're gonna remove this and either replace it with large flat stones that just extend the whole way, bigger pieces of bluestone, and see if we can deal with a beveled transition here. Or we will end up having to remove those cobbles and replace them with smaller chunks of bluestone so that it has the same color but not the, to be able to deal with the transition.
Do they have to modify the C of A to
No, this
accommodate those?
this is the C of A
That we put a new application in
new
for the
application.
sidewalk.
Okay.
So-
Okay,
as
I
the
get it.
change,
I get it.
yeah.
I think a solid piece of stone is a much better situation than multiple
Patching it.
patching it
It looks patched.
visually and safety-wise
Thank you.
over time, it seems to me.
I mean,
The heaving of the,
exactly. I think, I mean, ideally, well, initially, I should say, when we spoke with the mason, he was just gonna remove maybe the first couple of slabs and resize them so that they met, but then,
But his issue is just.
exactly,
his-
then that discussion came up.
His comment was, I don't have a bluestone stretcher to be able to kind of twist those two plates to get them to match up.
Well, I mean, he can maybe modify the pitch of the walk a little bit.
Any other questions? Comments from commission members? Are you here about this application or? Okay. I guess my dilemma, which we have faced in the past, is I mean, I understand the work and expense that's gone into this, but I don't think that people should get a leg up because they filed after something's installed. And so what I personally am struggling with is I'm trying to picture this without whether we would have approved this over the original design
The original application was for the entire sidewalk, so
Yeah.
the difference really is the cobblestone or not.
Yes.
So in the client's defense, I don't think they intended to get away with something by coming here after the fact. I think.
No, but that's not the question. The
Yeah.
question is the project. But anyway.
I mean, we also discuss, step by step too, we have tried to work with a solution with knowing what we're up against with what we have here and as well as with the owner. We did talk about maybe removing the stone up to the fence post of cobblestone on the edges. I said maybe that would
I think
soften
from
it, at least from the street.
but what,
I know it, we're trying,
I think consistency is
Exactly.
important.
So,
yeah.
But for me, it's not a new material that is seen on the street. It's not like you're coming in with a concrete paver.
It's cobblestone.
And it's been on the apron for years. It's on multiple driveway edges along the main street.
It is.
So it's not, and it's not a bizarre application of it where it's 3 layers wide and some, it's
I'm okay.
pretty stock.
I don't like the transition.
I agree with you.
Right now. I'm okay with the stone, John, along the side. Per your point, it's a cobblestone is a material that's used all the time on driveway edging, in sidewalks. So it's not like you've got a piece of plastic going down through there. And metal, metal's a thing too. So I would be uncomfortable with a patchwork of bluestone here. I really think it ought to be a continuous bluestone.
Agreed.
That's kind of the way I see it.
She'll make a motion to that effect.
Sure, go ahead.
I would, because I do respect the process here, and I respect that things that we present with a client and work with a client, and then things change. We're faced with that a lot, so I respect the fact that you're able to say, well, gosh, it's not what you presented, so.
Can they add or replace those bluestone, and not the bluestone,
The slab.
those pieces
Yep.
will have to be replaced with larger pieces.
with a, change the,
A wider piece.
a wider.
Just that one
A
piece.
wider piece, maybe the second course and the first course to make up the
Exactly.
4 inches or whatever you need
Exactly.
down there.
And that was how the conversation first started when that removal came up.
The issue, though, Ed, is can you bevel it so that it's not, because the sidewalk's not even, so you run the risks with a flat stone of having a
little
portion
trip.
of it on one edge meeting the sidewalk and on the other edge leaving something you could trip over.
You could also leave a little grass.
Or fill it in with stone dust, the same
Yeah.
color as the bluestone.
Phil, if he
I
went
think
back,
it
he
would
may
look-
have to go back a little farther and just kind of
It would look like a miss.
finesse the,
Oh, it would look
Yeah,
like
exactly, but
Yeah.
again, if the sidewalk aren't
yeah.
matching up, so it's just what he can possibly do to do that, and he's gonna have to,
I don't know how far off it is. Stone dust, he could.
yeah, but you don't wanna see an unfinished strip of stone dust in there.
Meeting the
'cause it's-
two.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's as bad
As that, yeah.
as
It's still another.
Brushes away.
Sure.
Yeah.
Stuff grows in it, it's just not.
No, I
if it
wouldn't
wants
do
to
it
look-
that, I wouldn't do it that wide, no.
I would put it this way, I wouldn't accept the cobblestone design as it is right now.
Mm-hmm.
Right? I would insist, if that's what we were being asked,
Yeah.
I would say, no, it needs to be of metal edging.
Mm-hmm.
If you're saying that we can limit to just the cobblestone on the side, but we have a safe transition, that's not the cobblestone coming across, I would be okay with that, personally.
Okay, I understand. So the question is this acceptable only if we have full bluestone slabs? And then what happens if they cannot be beveled? Would the commission accept bluestone fillers, for lack of a better word, so that at this edge they could be, with the fillers, wouldn't you still have the same issue a few inches in?
In essence, it would be similar to this picture. Instead of seeing the light colored granite, there would be blocks of bluestone doing the same thing.
Right.
But so it's really just a color change more than anything.
But how do you avoid the tripping risk with the stones?
So he would cut them. These are 4 inches wide. Or the size is 4 by 10 by 8.
Can he cut them
He
wider?
would do the same thing, and they would place those blocks. And of course, they're going in deep enough into the ground that they're not wobbly or flopping around. And it's really just a color change of the same material, because each one, you could cheat a little bit on each one. It's not so bad. You don't have have one continuous height, and then by the time you get to the edge of the walk, you're dealing with
do you know how much?
I don't.
Yeah, what's the
difference? Yeah.
What is the difference? Because, there are thresholds that are a quarter inch all the time.
Exactly. And I think what's happening here is it goes, each one of these kind of gives them that quarter inch bit to move. If it's 3/4 of an inch total, it's not a big tripper. It's not.
Are there thick, large slabs that would assuredly leave enough room for beveling?
It's the same thing. So if you start with a thicker piece of bluestone where it butts, if it's in the middle of the walk and it's level, perfect. And at the edge of the walk, it's 3/4 of an inch high. Certainly they can bevel that, cut it on a bevel, but it's still, it's not stretched out over distance.
No, he'd probably have to go back farther to make up that.
Somehow that would have to be. Again, these are, the walk is only 4 feet wide at the most, so you're talking 2 flat stones, 2 foot and 2 foot that are level. They're not pitched or crowned.
Yeah, but if you're beveling it, couldn't you bevel back, and so at the point where it meets the sidewalk, there's a variation?
You can, but again, if we're trying to make this side bevel, if this side's got to go down, this side's going up.
Oh.
Right? So
well, I guess.
The sidewalk at the back is level. That's already level. The front isn't level. So if it stays, one's got to...
If it's a thick slab, why couldn't you have it level at your left hand?
Just kind of sink it more in the front.
Yeah.
Because as you sink this one, then this one's not level. This one's still pitching down.
No, but I thought the beveling would mean you carving away some stone. Why can't you carve it away at an angle?
You certainly can if this whole thing is coming down at one direction, but the sideways walk is coming the other direction.
So there's no way to sort of...
It's a cross.
Finesse.
And exactly, you're saying exactly the right thing. And the mason is telling me, yeah, Dave, that's how I finesse it. I can finesse it with a bunch of little stones to do that, but I can't do it with a big plate to bend it.
So if this were metal edging, he would
The metal edging would have only been here, all the way down. He would have had the same problem.
He would have still needed to, because we may say you have to go to metal edging, he would still need to do some kind of transition stone.
There would have had to have been some issue at the edge. You're absolutely right. If this was all metal edging and it's dead flat level, we would have still had to have some transition at that point that would have had to take place.
Right. And there's a possibility, because as a commission, we can't design in we can't design how this goes together.
Sure.
Method, yeah.
I mean, that's architects and contractors that have to make sure it's safe. That's not our responsibility. You have to tell us how you can actually fabricate it to make it safe and what the aesthetics would be to make that happen, and then we have to judge on that.
I think the reality is he's gonna probably have to remove a little farther in here than, you know, than more than just these first two stones.
Yeah.
And he's gonna have to start tipping this thing in two directions farther back,
That's exactly
starting
right.
from level and tweaking all of this to get that.
Right, he's just have to go farther back than
Yeah.
he thinks, yep.
It's the only way you can do it.
That's how I would, just the only way it has to, yeah.
Well,
I think
as
it's
I see
worth
it, the motion is to, if somebody wants to make the motion, to approve the design as shown in this change, as shown in this C of A, with the difference that the stone edges be replaced with bluestone, and that another condition is that if possible, we use complete slabs.
Mhm.
The question is, if it's not possible and you're just using
Right.
fillers, is that an acceptable
Full
backup?
design.
If at the, you know, we just have to
Right.
trust the faith of you and the contractors that you would do your best to work out the slabs.
And time, too, because time will settle it in, you know,
Yeah.
time, just
It
time,
does.
time on
Time.
Finds its natural.
ground.
It finds its
That's
spot.
natural, yeah.
Yeah.
He has a bed of crushed stone under that.
Yeah.
Certainly, yep.
And
Yeah, yeah.
wouldn't he use the,
As a level.
Sure,
as the
Yep.
stone?
Mhm.
sure.
Yep. That would, I think he's just gonna have to take out the first 2 or 3 courses here.
Exactly. yeah.
And he may have to raise the cobblestone edge a little bit so that it can walk its way up.
So,
I think the slabs would look better.
Yeah. Okay, so I'll be happy to get this going. I make a motion that we approve the cobblestone edging on the side of the bluestone sidewalk with the
on the condition that it's flush with the ground.
on the condition that it's flush with the ground, with the cobblestone being not removed, but, let me word it this way, with a continuous bluestone, transition to the town sidewalk. And leave it at that.
And with the understanding that that continuous bluestone is slabs if at all possible.
Possible, yeah. We could add
But
that. Yeah.
that can be reflected in the discussion rather than the
Right.
motion. Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Okay, any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye?
Aye.
Aye.
Very reluctantly, aye. Okay. All right, motion carries.
Okay.
400.
Thank you, Tim.
Thanks.
Okay. And now that it's-
Yep.
They tell you in architecture school that you
Yeah.
have to deal with,
It's all good.
Oh, it's,
dealing with homeowners and contractors and commissions, or did they just teach you how to?
It's
It's-
tough because
it's
it's a
constant.
fine line. We always tell our clients, you know, gee, we, you know, work these things through, but we walk away, we don't live there. So decisions that they make outside of our involvement get difficult to enforce, because you kind of go back and you say,
Well,
ooh, why'd you do that? And,
Maybe you can communicate to the owners that if they have any other project in mind, they really should come in and talk to
I know.
the head of.
we're before the zone, the ZBA a lot, and, you know, we're pretty
yeah, all of our projects are pretty much
strict
in
with
front of
even
ZBA.
how we try to steer our clients.
Right.
And yet, you know, you may go back and they extended some impervious material, or they, and you're like,
Anyway, thank you.
anyway,
Thank you. Thank you for your input, too.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
All right. And next up is 1 Boston Post Road.
I live adjacent to the property at 1 Boston Post Road, that's why I...
Okay. Are you, wait a minute. I have some paperwork here. Are you George?
Yes.
Okay. Okay.
And where do you live, sir? You can come up if you, why don't you come up?
Yeah, he had communicated.
I'm sorry, 109.
9. And my name is George Cannabis.
Hi, George, welcome.
Now, you were not here. Let me just summarize my understanding of where we are. This is an application for a new shed. There was an old shed that was removed. We did not have a C of A application for removal of that structure, and we did not have a C of A application for the new shed. My understanding is that when the new shed was installed, there was a zoning concern, maybe stimulated by a question from you, and zoning commission regs led the owner, Jim Grable, to move the shed back from Lime Street to its current location.
Well,
So, I just wanted to set the context.
So we haven't approved the shed, we have a C of A, correct?
Yeah, C of
For the
A
shed.
is a certificate of appropriate.
So we're now
We're interested
hearing.
in what you have to say.
Say, yeah.
all right. First, I don't recall a shed being there.
It was way on the other side of the
Oh,
property.
okay, all right. So it wasn't where it's presently located.
That's, yeah.
Yeah, and it just sort of, one day it was just there, you know. And the problem is that shed is visible as we enter and exit our property, and it's, I think it's too close to the side yard setback also, which is a 35-yard setback, and
35 feet.
35 feet rather setback, the side yard setback. And it obviously adversely affects the value of our property, I feel, because it's visible. And there was never anything there prior. And all of a sudden, so when I checked with the zoning official, I believe he told me that they never applied for a permit.
No.
And he wasn't even aware the shed was there. And he was going to go out and look at it, and then he was going to let me know what, if any, action he would be taking. So, I mean, in other words, if there was to be a shed approved, we would have no objection if it was located to the rear of our building line.
So further back than it currently is.
Yeah, because when we drive in, you see it. When you drive out, you see it. So if you were going to put a shed, then we feel it should be beyond the rear of our building line. So and it should be properly screened so that it's not visible. Because I think now it's in violation of zoning. I mean, it's so.
For this commission, our concerns are limited by statute.
Yes.
We can't respond to concerns with, it's visible from our driveway. We have to deal with what's visible from the public street.
Okay.
The other issue here is another neighbor was here at the last meeting who lives on Rose Lane but bought the property, and so the further back you move the shed, the more visible it becomes from her property, their property, and so that's part of the mess.
Part of the mess, too, is that we understood from zoning, I think, that when zoning responded, I guess it was to your concerns,
Yeah.
they asked Graybill to move it back to a predetermined setback that is allowed by zoning, and that's what he did. So it's not, I mean, according to the zoning department, I think it's in compliance with their regs, their setbacks.
I mean, it may be at
But,
35 feet and 1 inch, I don't know.
right, we don't.
Well, I was just up at zoning, and the woman in zoning said that they've never had an application
Oh.
for a permit.
Oh, interesting.
I thought that when it was moved, they had another
Huh.
application.
So she, according to her, she looked at the file, she says, I've made an application. And I said, well, when I saw the shed, I spoke with the zoning enforcement officer, and he also told me there was no application, and he wasn't aware, and he was gonna go look at the shed. And then he was gonna get back to me.
So are they waiting for us to approve it? Because in theory, it
Well,
should work that way.
it should,
But it hasn't in this case.
we,
But it sort of is.
but I don't understand then why Jim Grable would have moved it before getting approval from us. If zoning was saying, here's, the process is supposed to work, that zoning alerts someone, and it's now on zoning forms, that they, for property, a structure in the historic district, they have to come here first, get approval from us.
Right.
Then it goes to zoning to double check against, because we don't deal with setbacks from neighboring
Okay, right.
property lines. We just deal with sight lines from the street and with the type of construction, which is another issue. Anyway, this is, Martha, am I correct, actually a continuation of last month's public hearing? Because Jim came in with a C of A, didn't he?
Here's what he said. Here is his C of A.
We had him resubmit it, so it reset the timeline.
Oh, okay. 'Cause that was
It's the
what I
same.
was leading to.
It's the same one, 4/27/23.
Well, then if it's 4/27.
Is that what that says? Yeah. I don't think he's,
But he didn't send this to us in April. We just heard it in June.
I think we've had this, but who knows?
So we need to,
Was it on
it
our,
should be reset to now,
right,
because otherwise we're gonna have to.
Okay, this says received 5:30.
That sounds right.
yeah, that's when I picked it up. That's
Okay,
when I-
but
yeah.
the problem now is we have, how many days? 60 days? So we have to decide something today, because we're not gonna meet again within 60 days.
Was there a shed on the property before?
Yeah,
Yeah.
but it was,
You
it was
relocated it?
way, no.
It was on the other side.
He
Right.
completely tore that one down, again, without a C of A application, because you're supposed to have that for removal. And then he bought a new shed and just put it up.
Why didn't he put it up in the location the previous shed?
Because the driveway configuration has been changed. But the short answer is, I don't know.
He's a lot, and it's the whole thing,
It-
the whole.
George, I have a question for you,
Yeah.
because I heard a comment that I think is important. You mentioned that the shed devalues the property value. The question I have is, do you think the shed design is in keeping with the historic district?
No.
No. And do you think that is part of the reason that you would consider that a...
Yes.
Yes, okay. That's what I want to
And
hear.
if, as you just said, he reconfigured the driveway and made, well, wouldn't he have to come here
He did.
to do this?
He
did
did
do
for the
that.
driveway reconfiguration, but we didn't,
All right,
That-
and then when he removed the shed, wouldn't he have to come here?
Should have.
Yeah, it should have.
Come here.
he should have, but he didn't.
So I don't know, I mean, in other words, I'm not trying to create problems for him.
I understand.
But I think, as you said, the shed is hardly in keeping with what you'd expect in a historical district. And if it's going to be there, it should be, I think, be put in a position forget about me, put it in a position that it's not really visible from the street, so that it doesn't affect all of the properties in that historic district commission. But you know, it's my understanding is when you do something like you go in, you just put up a building or shed or whatever, and you haven't complied with zoning, you get a cease and desist order. You don't, you know, and that's done before, you know, you can even reapply again. You know, you do this and that. But my point is that it's if you're where we are,
Right.
all of a sudden, out of nowhere, we're driving in and there's a shed. We're driving out, it's a shed. And my wife especially, she gets, you know, really upset over this. Because we've spent a lot of money on our property and trying to keep it in proper appearance and everything. And so we just feel that, well, we're not trying to say, we're not trying to create a real problem for them. What I'm saying is, look, take it out of our path. Put it back. I don't see any reason why he would object to putting it back further. Maybe he would.
Well, I think, George, I think the issue is that it's not a structure that's in keeping with the historic district.
Right.
And I think that there are several neighbors, yourself, other neighbors that are in the historic district that have maintained their properties with buildings that are in keeping with, and just relocating a building that's not in keeping with the historic district is going to affect any of these neighbors, yourself and other neighbors. So I think it goes back to that first question: is the building, is the structure that's being proposed in keeping with the historic district? To me, that's the first thing that has to be answered.
Well, right, and the point is it doesn't have a zoning permission either. So I don't.
Well, I couldn't agree more with what you just said. I mean, that's really legally the thing that should be done, I think, at this time.
Because there are safeguards for this. One is zoning and one is the HDC.
Right.
And there are no permits from either one of them.
Well, I think today, you know, Jim is not here. Even if we were to approve the shed, we would need to have a discussion about appropriate screening. So I think what we need to do is to, what I would suggest is that we deny the C of A, and if he wants to come back with another application that, and that's up to him, and then we need to also communicate with the zoning. When C of A, when somebody's out of compliance with one of our C of A's, our enforcement person is the zoning enforcement person. Right. So there may be an issue with compliance, not only with the zoning regs, but also with our action. I'm sensing from comments there's not a great sentiment to, in Jim's absence especially, proceed and somehow say, we did two of us did do a site walk, and so we had some questions of our own about
Yeah, I think the problem is relocating it anywhere on that property. Now, to John's point, our only purview as a historic commission is visible from a public right-of-way. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Or is it the entire? I mean, I thought our jurisdiction was for an entire
300 feet back.
300 feet back.
None of stuff is not visible.
Does it say that in the code?
If it's not visible, right, that was what we went with Hamilton.
You have to parse the language, but I think that's the end result, and the state HD handbook says that. So what that means is, if somebody wants to put in an air conditioner, but they put it in the rear of its house, so it is nowhere visible from Lime Street or a side street, they can do that. from our point of view, I mean, they still have to get a permit from elsewhere in town. So, from our point of view, if Jim put a shed up behind his house and you couldn't see any portion of it from the street, the neighbors would be outraged, and there may be zoning questions, whether zoning would approve that, but that's not our...
So our jurisdiction doesn't extend to a building in the historic district, 0 to 300 feet, if it's not visible from a public right of way.
Well, it doesn't extend to any structure.
But this is visible to everybody. This is visible to us.
Right now, it's visible from Lime Street, right?
It's visible very visible from Lime Street.
Right.
We've had two neighbors come in with questions.
Right.
There's an unclear situation up in zoning as to whether there's ever been any permits. I don't see how we should come in and approve something with so many questions attached to it.
Correct. I agree, yeah.
I feel that the shed was a trade he made when he relocated the driveway. And if he chose the driveway over the shed location, that was the choice.
You mean that he sort of made with himself?
Yeah,
in
right.
the design
Yeah.
of, yep.
Exactly.
Yep.
All right, well, we have a very full agenda today, and I appreciate the discussion, but are there, assuming no other comments, you're here for something else?
They're LISB.
Gotcha. Would someone look here to make a motion?
I move that we deny application.
I second.
All I would say before we vote is that I think Deanie and I should consult with Eric Knapp about this whole situation, but as well as with Jim.
But we have to deny it. We have to do something today.
We have to do something today.
So we're going to
Absolutely.
deny.
Yeah, I'm not
Okay.
really speaking to the...
So should we just finish the motion?
You're right.
Yeah.
And then talk about next steps. Sorry. Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Motion...
In favor of the motion to deny the app.
Yeah. And Martha, made by Russ, seconded by Ed.
No, made by
Made by
Ed,
Ed.
seconded by
Sorry. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, none. Abstentions?
Okay, thank you very much. I appreciate it.
And maybe you should have another conversation with zoning.
Yeah, I intend to. I think you're right.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay,
Okay, thanks again.
thanks.
Thank you, George.
Oh, George, are you the fellow who, is this where there are two driveways close together? And is your neighbor to the south have a driveway that is next to yours?
Yeah, but we have no problem.
No. I'm just talking about another issue over which we have no jurisdiction, but we have heard concerns, which is the trash cans that you keep outside the stone wall.
Oh, yeah.
Conceptually, that doesn't work. Technically, we have no jurisdiction because they're not structures fixed to the ground.
Okay, but I'll see what I can do about that.
I would appreciate that. Thank you. Okay. And the next issue is the Joneses. They are not here, so
We can have
can we meet with you, and then if the Joneses show up,
Hi, Ed. How you doing?
Hi, everyone. Since you seem to know Mary, I'm
Yeah.
Bob Coe.
We all do.
Everyone knows Mary, but I'm
No, not everyone knows me, but...
Vice Chair of the Board of Directors
Oh.
and Chair of our Buildings and Grounds Committee, so this falls into my thing.
Good for you. So,
let's
Okay.
get
Yeah,
the paperwork for this.
Yeah, got the paper.
Deanie's the organized one.
I sort of am, but I don't think I have it. Do you have it, Martha? Yeah, okay.
I have it.
Yeah, if you need,
We have it, if you
need
want
a
it.
copy.
You have the original. Is that right, Martha?
Do you have one?
I have one too.
Well,
I can do it.
Okay, good, thank you.
It's just replacing.
The one around the trash receptacle?
Yeah,
Okay, got it.
it's just 2 panels of fence.
Yeah, 2 panels, okay.
so is this Lime Street out here? Okay.
Yeah, I'm standing in the back of the parking lot, looking towards Line
All right.
That was.
So it's actually behind the...
Behind that railing.
It's at the back of the ramp.
I get-
It's tough,
Got
you know, if you're standing on Line Street, you can sort of see the corner of it.
Got it.
You can see the whole thing.
I see.
Yeah.
Why-
But you can see it.
You can't see it, yeah.
Probably heard our discussion about if we were truly in back of the
Yeah.
No, it's not
building.
truly in back.
There's
It's
a,
right here.
there's a section if you're standing on
Right.
the,
Get a view, there's a view, yeah,
See the
yeah.
corner of it?
yes.
Yeah, yeah, okay.
To the end of the walkway, the ramp.
I need it.
Behind the ramp, yeah. So that was built, I don't even know when, and it encloses our garbage containers. We have quite a few. But that was built before recycling. And so now we include recycling and garbage in there, and it's such a tight squeeze, we can barely fit them in. It rubs up against the building and the downspout, the gutter downspout. And so the fence is falling apart. It's completely rotted and leaning, and it's going. And so we'd like to take the opportunity to expand it 18 inches so we can comfortably fit both recycling.
So, just, and this,
Yes,
Yeah.
move it out on the grass a little bit.
But not,
This way, 18 inches.
Correct. The section.
No,
Yeah,
just a
this
little
section
wider.
is 5 feet.
Yeah.
We're looking to do
You can
6
see
and a half.
that.
6.5,
You
got
see
it.
the green and the
Just gonna come out a
blue. We just
little
want
bit
to
more
move
in
it
the
over
grass,
so
Yeah.
they're
and
not.
do the exact
Yeah.
same.
yeah.
Yep, okay,
And it's
got
the
it.
design, you're
It's the exact same fence. Yeah, it's the
Exact same fence. It's a
cedar.
wood cedar fence?
It'll be a cedar fence with a fence company installing it. Yeah, it's just extending the 5-foot section off the building to 6.5 to give us some more room. Nothing else in that area other than a grass area there, so. And then we would leave it open the way it is there too, so the entrance for the trash cans and the recycling go in and out from the back, so those aren't exposed by the road. You just see the fence from the roadside.
Any thought of putting some kind of green in front of the fence?
Green?
Yeah, some kind of shrubbery or anything, or plants or anything?
Well, first of all, that view right there is really by the back door. So you can't see that part from Lime Street. We used to have things growing there, but there's so many kids running around our property, and the property has such hard use all the time that everything, like that whole area here used to be Pachysandra, and it is not anymore. It's just grass.
everyone's just running.
It just, yeah.
So in our ramp, so we have a ramp, accessible ramp access there, and then there's a 3 steps going down. So the office and the staff going in and out all day and like go out through the steps here to this walkway to go in and out of the
What,
building.
this guy?
Got it.
If we were to put bushes there, then it starts to encroach.
Encroach on that, yeah, got it.
Oh, that was the Children's Learning Center.
Oh,
This is LYSB.
I'm just orienting myself.
yes. So they're next door, and people always confuse us with each other because we have kids. But they're the white, we're yellow. Right.
I know.
Jeannie knows.
Yeah.
Ed knows.
So. So it can be landscape, so the fact that it'll get dug up, because they have to take out the posts that are in there, they'll dig them up,
Yeah.
They will be setting them in concrete as well for support, and then, the landscaping around it will get
The grass.
You really don't even see it, though, between all the cars that are always there and the walkway, which is kind of pretty.
It'll be a little more present if you move it out.
Yeah, it'll be a little more.
Yeah.
So, yeah, but I think given this, it's not out of keeping.
Correct.
No, it's not. It's a good design for this ramp.
I think so.
Yeah.
Okay.
Can I see, John? Thank you.
Yeah.
And the caps to the post that would, you say would be a new addition? The caps would be,
Right now, they're just flat, so.
so would you have,
They would be the
cedar?
They would be the cedar post tops, yeah. So they'd be kind of a pointed topping to, along the lines of what we have on our handrail. So our handrail going up.
Yeah, it would be nice if it matched, if the
handrail-
caps matched that, right?
Exactly, yep.
Yeah.
There's caps on each of those
Right.
posts on the handrail there. And then
You don't want that detail because it's too open, but,
No.
but you can match the caps.
Fence panels would install across so you don't see the trash cans at all from the
Right.
road. And
Right.
then we would put corner caps on the top of the post.
Then that, because you want it to kind of look like it goes together a little bit, right?
Exactly, yeah. And we have split rail fencing around the rest of the property, and this company that does the fencing work would be the ones doing this fencing too.
Okay, further discussion? Is there a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve the C of A to extend the receptacle fencing 18 inches from the current design. What direction do I describe that as? The 18 inches? North. And the fencing will be, it's like for like except for the caps.
It's like for like except for the caps and the 18 inches.
And it's, so it's, I don't know, do we still call it like for like or not?
No.
No.
It's a change, the
It's a
size.
change, yeah. It's not a like for like then. So it will be a cedar fence, a slatted cedar fence,
What,
right?
can we just say?
Do we have the
it says
verbiage there?
Just say as submitted
As submitted in the C of A.
with the condition that the caps be cedar and similar in style to
The walkway.
The walkway,
caps.
yes.
Rampway.
The rampway caps.
Okay.
Just
Let me
to-
read that, I just want to make
Just
sure
to
that.
pin down that detail.
Verbiage, yeah.
I know it sounds picky, but they're, you probably weren't heard for the first one. Some landowners
Okay.
change things after
Approval?
their words and then
Five
And it
by
they have to
becomes a
come
problem for
back.
everybody.
And the current posts are 5x5s?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. And post, the fence is 5 feet tall and remain the same height. Okay, yeah, so as described here, yeah.
Okay.
Okay?
Do we have a second?
I'll second it.
And so the motion is, what do you have, Martha, just to double check the language?
Russ Todd made a motion, seconded by Deanie Mallory, to approve the C of A as submitted, with the condition that the post caps be cedar to match the caps on the handrail posts.
Well, I would say be similar to, because they may not match 100%.
Yeah, because those are 4x4, the handrail posts are
It'll be
4x4, so
a little larger.
it may be a little bit off design, but
Right.
similar concept, yeah, similar style.
Similar style, yeah. Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye,
Aye. Opposed, none, abstaining, none, thank you.
thank you.
Thank you very
Thank
much.
you very much. Thank you. Thanks, Mary. See you.
May we keep this?
Nice to meet you.
Yes, yeah, you too. Thank you very much.
Yeah, nice to meet you.
And if you need the, I don't know if it matters, but the actual fence proposal that goes with it from the company,
That would be helpful.
we will keep that with all of it together.
Yeah, that's good.
Great.
Okay?
Our record keeping.
Okay, thank you very much.
Martha, you had this. Do you want me to now take it?
Yes.
Okay. With my meeting material. Yeah.
Just a copy.
Okay, Jones's,
Not here.
are not here, but when they came in last time, it was not for public hearing, is that correct?
Right.
They did remedy the visibility of the tanks. There's a
But have they now submitted a CFA?
Here. Here's what we have. Okay. Doesn't have a date on it, does it? June 21st.
Okay.
Is going to read it.
It's okay. It says replacement of rotted wood surrounding front door. Carpenter will remove rotted wood in door frame and replace with appropriate wood or AZEK, which will be painted.
He hasn't started that.
No. The transom above the door will be replaced with same-size wood frame. Clear bullseye glass rondels,
yeah.
if available. If not, old clear glass will be used. The transom is now plexiglass. The old door will remain. But there's nothing in here about the vertical tanks replacing the
Okay, then
horizontal
what's this?
tanks.
There's more.
That's the front door.
There's more.
Oh, wait.
Propane
And
tanks.
Wait,
Okay,
there's
yep,
more.
there's more.
Hi, Tim.
Hi, Tim.
May I interrupt this?
You may.
I was just wondering on the sign, on the green, the suffrage sign,
Yes.
is there going to be a recommendation that the commission might have about the relocation of that?
Yes, it's on our agenda to tail end.
Okay, because I think if there is something to me, then I can start,
Tell
if it's
Ed.
going to move or something.
Right.
That would be helpful.
Thank you for being agreeable.
Accommodating.
All right.
Okay.
Thanks, Tim. Well, why don't we deal with this one? Well, the first threshold question is, do you want to proceed without them here? Those issues were certainly discussed last.
We've discussed these issues before.
That's right.
I mean, a long time before even, about the transom and the type of glass and the color of the glass and all that we discussed over
The
a year
transom
ago.
on the house.
Over the
The front door of the main house, yeah.
I'm not sure that was specified, but.
Is there anything wrong with that?
So it seems to me as if we could go with this one.
That sounded right to me.
Yes.
Yeah, that sounds
Yes.
good.
This we could approve,
Yes.
or we could move forward on, let's put it that way.
Well, are we comfortable moving forward on that without the Joneses' presence? I mean.
I think we are because we
We
discussed
asked
it.
a lot of questions last time.
Yeah, yeah.
All right.
I'll make a motion to approve the C of A as
Presented.
The C of,
Right.
the C of A for the
front door.
Front door.
Main house, front door,
Work.
transom and framing upgrade.
Yeah. Okay.
Repair, is it repair and upgrade? Because they're changing the glass material from plexiglass to glass, so.
Yes.
I'll second that.
Further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay.
Okay. Let me read the second one. Well, this is... Okay. Kohler generator, north side of studio. Cedar privacy lattice, and it gives a dimension of the generator, cedar privacy lattice, and it gives a dimension which is ample to cover the entire tank. 2 vertical 120-gallon propane tanks, lattice surround, which is sufficient to
Screen.
screen that. ornamental grasses planted beside lattices for further coverage. Grasses will grow 7 to 8 feet tall every year. Attached photos show placement, renovation of existing wood door structures to hide cover electrical meters on the east side of the studio, repair of rotted wood frame with wood and painted old latch to be removed and replaced with hand-forged wrought iron period latch. See photo. So let me pass it around.
That's been completed. I think the boxing in of the mechanicals on the street side.
Or just obscured by the doors?
Well, that was there before, and they took the sides down because they were all rock.
Oh.
So now according to what they've said and what
better
my observation is, they've just returned it to its original state. So new wood along the sides. We look at the door from the street along the side.
Is this an actual photo? Is that the actual install?
No,
No?
I don't think so. What's that? Where is that?
No,
In the back?
I think
That's just showing what grasses look like? Or,
Lattice,
well,
return to studio lattice width.
he says, the grasses, ornamental grasses planted beside lattices for further coverage. Grasses will grow to 7 to 8 feet tall every year. See attached photos for placement. So, I don't know if they
Is this not it?
cobbled,
I think that's
maybe
it.
they photoshopped something in, I don't know.
I think what they're trying to say is they're going to put those grasses along the edge of it so that when you look back, we look at it now, and the grasses will sort of be in front of,
There's another photo.
yeah. I mean, the grasses are good because they're in keeping with the
The marsh.
view out over the marsh.
Yeah. Is that not the condition?
That probably is, I just didn't notice it in passing.
Yeah. I think that's fine.
I think we move to,
Yeah, and the door I think is fine. Yeah. And the new, just so Ed can see it too, up there. The new latch for the door.
yeah.
Right there. Yeah, so there you go. So I'll make a motion to, and Ed, do you want to make a motion? It's up to you.
I'll move that we
Okay.
accept the COA as complete.
For the
For the propane tanks and
work on the east side of the,
Yeah. The door.
just to distinguish it from the other motion.
And the electrical, the
Boxing,
door.
right, the door, the reinstall of the door with new side panel
And hardware.
and hardware.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I second.
accept your,
I second. Yeah.
So what was the modification?
That, basically describing the
That application, the wording.
application where we're basically the work at screening of the tanks, the generator, and the
Replacement of the door.
replacement of the door and framing at the electrical panel with new hardware.
Okay.
The door actually wasn't replaced, it's the same door, it's just the side, but it's, yeah.
Okay, further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
No? No. My problem is the vertical tanks. I would never have approved them.
Oh,
I think
okay.
they should get a leg up just because they go ahead and do it first. I mean, the other stuff I'm fine with, but if there's a way to just note that in record, I wasn't opposed to anything except the vertical tanks.
So that brings up a question I have. How egregious does a change have to be in order to deny in relation to the tanks and the sidewalk?
Well, I suppose ultimately it's a discretionary matter. It says in boldface at the bottom of the form, no substitutions or changes from what the HDC approved in the C of A are allowed, period.
Did it say that for the sidewalk as well?
Yeah, but then it says, if substitutions or changes are desired, a new updated C of A must be submitted.
Which is what this is.
Which is what the
Both
folks...
parties did. But
Yeah.
At what point would you say you have to undo it?
Well,
It's
I just strongly object to saying you get to put it in and then just because it would be expensive to change, you somehow get some preference. You goofed. You're supposed to come to us first.
I disagree. I don't disagree.
Okay, that's just, but on the merits, I mean, I was ready to vote the same way, but hearing that the sidewalk pavers were level to the ground, hearing the discussion, hearing the removal of the ones in front, I said, okay, I think I would have approved that going on. I don't think I would have approved vertical tanks. So,
You probably wouldn't have.
anyway,
Had they proposed it that way, but I think we have to move on
yes.
with this project.
Okay,
Yeah.
I think so.
good.
They have a lot more coming up. I mean, there are many things they want to do.
Right. So,
The Monty.
you're here for, we could take this out of order. We had communications and correspondence now, but if you're here, we
Yep.
may as well proceed. So come up, have a seat.
Okay. And
I have a mock-up here of what we're gonna have. You wanna look at that now, or we're gonna hold off on it?
What,
This is the mock-up of the windows.
okay. Maybe you could prop it on the chair.
The chair, yeah.
Look at it. on those chairs.
Yeah, back right there.
Oops, sorry.
Look at it.
There we go.
Okay, so this is 64 Lime Street, which is, orient me please, which,
Nightingales.
Nightingales, okay, okay.
That and the beauty shop, the hair
And
gallery.
the beauty shop, right.
So, tell us about the project.
Well, last year, we were here and we did 26 of the double hung, which is the other 3/4 of the building. And these here are the storefronts that are left. They're very old. They probably the original windows, you know,
Right.
and which are probably 125 years old. And they're in poor shape and they need replacing.
So it's both of them, right? It's both of the bays.
Yes, both stores.
Right, right.
Yeah.
You know that, right?
I just want to see what it looks like now.
And this is, like I said, this is a cutout that the company made to give you an idea, you know, of what we're looking at.
Same shape?
Same
Still
thing.
going to be bayed, or the way they are?
Same shape, yeah, everything's the same. They said they would make this, the windows, that would be within an inch of the size that we have right now, within an inch.
And single panes of glass?
Well, the insulated glass, yes.
I mean, new glass,
New glass, yes, same size.
but it's just going to be glass, not screens and...
No. No.
Is this, excuse me, the same company that did
Yes.
your other windows?
Yeah, yeah.
This is a vertical round molding in one or two places on the beauty parlor.
This post-period detail that you would want to...
Well, this,
Where do you mean, Ed?
I think right here, right?
At the corner.
Oh, mm-hmm.
That looks proud of the window, maybe, is that detail?
It almost looks like a separate post to me.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's not, I think, this piece right here.
well, it's part of the original window.
Is it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Some of them still have the original, what I call bubble glass, the ones that haven't been replaced.
Should save that glass,
Thinking about it, if we can get them out without breaking them.
Oh, that's a large pane of bubble glass. That's unusual.
Yeah, very unusual. You should hold on to that.
Yeah.
Yeah, they said they would, like I said before, they would keep the replacement ones within an inch of what's there. But they've just gotten so bad, because obviously they're so old that they just can't repair them anymore. Cells on them and so forth and so on, and they just, they've gone beyond.
And they're not energy efficient.
No.
So one question I have is, so there's this detail here, this piece across.
Right.
And then the window is set in. Does this maintain this piece?
Right.
Does that window go on top of that piece, or does the window then? Well, I think that's an important architectural. This and this are important architectural.
Well, the bottom piece will stay the same because obviously we have to have, frame it.
Frame it.
Reframe it, I should say.
Right.
And as far as the other, I don't really know of how we can.
Talking about this piece here.
No, he's talking about this right here, right?
Yeah, and I'm wondering where. I'm wondering where the window stops.
Right. This area right here.
The point that.
Right.
This seems like to me that's part of the architectural framing and detail.
Yeah.
That the window would set onto that, which is a little different than the current.
Well, that
window.
That, like I said, we should be able to keep, that and the top. We're going to try to keep the same.
Right.
I'm not going to say. Yeah, right.
Upside down. You see what I'm saying?
On the ledge.
Yeah, this is an important design element, I think, relative to this and this.
Right. So he's talking about keeping that kind of proportionally match the bottom.
So you're talking about this molding up here and down below?
Down on the,
Yeah.
Yeah, that basically this molding, this, and then this piece down here, right? See, that's a much thinner element, so you don't want to lose the shop architectural frame.
See, what that'll do is sit on our new framing.
Show Martha, her photo's a little washed out.
Yeah, like that.
I mean, that's a custom application.
All of that.
Yeah, it's not, like, we've been working on this since March to try to come up with, with this here, because I was trying to get it through, so, last year we ended up putting windows in after Thanksgiving, and it was pretty cold. So, but like I said, they said the best they could come up with as far as, trying to stay as close as we could to this.
What does, same style and look using Energy Star National vinyl windows? You mean the frame?
Yeah. Right.
Right.
Yes.
Right. So,
consider a mill shop that could duplicate what was there. That would cost a small fortune, and if you could find one that would do it, that in itself would be a chore.
The windows that you put in, did you replace all the windows in the?
Everything else in the building except these, yes.
so this material would match.
Exactly, yes.
These are very prominent and very much a part of the design of the building. You know, everyone understands cost constraints for sure, you know, but these are really
Front and center.
Front and center. Yeah.
What about the wood-like type of frames as opposed to the vinyl?
Honestly, I don't know how to answer that. I don't know who would custom make something like what you see in the picture there. I mean,
Right.
and then it becomes an issue with, you know, making them out of wood. You can see how narrow all this framing is. When you start making them out of wood, you know, you're not going to have the strength. Like I said, I don't know how they could do that. But 'cause that was like the gentleman on Coastal over there where I bought these other windows. He said the same thing. I mean, nowadays that wouldn't fly. You know, as far as for, you know.
Did you see? You've seen that.
Right, because these are just single pane.
They're single pane, and the framing is so, you know, if you want to call it intricate, it's just, you know, there's not much of it there,
Right.
you know.
And just to confirm, you would be able to keep this top,
Yes, yes.
the top.
Because that's very important too, because it has that nice framing or nice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, the architectural
Yeah.
detailing and framing around
It's nice.
Yeah, that's not going to be a problem.
it. Regardless of what that ends up being, that's part of the architectural
Could you-
detail and change.
I mean, could you face it? You know, put something. So, you know what I'm talking about.
What are you talking about?
At the bottom?
The concern is this
Yes.
will go away.
No, that
would stay.
that'll stay.
Oh, that will stay.
Yeah, that piece right there sits on top of the frame.
We'll have framing there, and then it'll be faced with whatever, you know, we decide to use for a face, but that'll stay the same.
Dimensionally, that would stay the same.
Right.
I think it's a question of the materiality of this window frame.
Yeah. This is what's so hard about what all of us do.
Well, this is not, this is a
not a
preview.
public hearing. This is just a
A
discussion.
preview, yeah. So I think from my standpoint, maintaining the architectural detail that surrounds the window is the number one importance.
Right.
And then from my perspective, the second question is there another option that is more wood-like in appearance that is similar to the original window? I have a little bit of concern of the plastic kind of feel of that window frame. I'm not saying I would reject it at this point. I need to think about it. But I would, since this is not the official C of A, I think there's time to do a little bit more research, and we'll be happy to look as well to see if there is another option that the frame is more in keeping with what's there originally. That's my personal take.
Not the frame, you mean the window frame.
The window, we'll call it the window.
They're just very prominent. I mean, they're wonderful, but that said, because it's an unusual design and they're very noticeable.
I think the other important thing that we're not really seeing here that is related is the actual glass itself it would be an insulated glass, correct? That you're going in with.
Right.
The color of that glass, in other words, that is I guess a blown or a historic clear glass, and depending on the iron content of glass, you can have a much greener effect if there's any kind of layering that's part of the laminated insulated layer. That can change the color and the overall look of the glass. And since that is so prominent and there's so much of it, that I think we need to be very careful about the glass selection itself.
That it's clear.
That it's clear, it doesn't have a lot of iron in it, that it's not green, and it's not shaded in a way that makes it appear, tinted.
There's insulated glass behind you.
Right.
You find that color.
Yeah, I think that would be fine.
Well, they're the same as our double hung that we put in last fall.
And I understand. I just think I'm reacting to Deanie's comment, which is it's a lot of glass and it's a very prominent facade.
And it's right at street level.
And right at street level. So I think just attention to the glass is important. And maybe a sample, maybe what we should see.
I actually have a sample.
Yeah.
It's at home though.
No. Again, we're not weighing in today. But for the actual C of A, maybe you could bring that sample in and we could look at that and see that.
So this molded piece right here is going to stay?
No, it's going to have to, actually it's going to probably have to be a heavier piece, in there than what you see there. That's what I'm saying. Back then, it wasn't an issue, but
what I'm hearing is that is probably going to end up being a larger structural piece, and
a flat piece
might be a flat piece of wood, right?
It could be.
Or you could add a detail.
You could add what do you call it, a half round?
Half round. Yeah, I think would make sense.
That would be nice, because it would
right.
mimic the detail on the molded top.
When you do come in with the C of A, it would be helpful to have dimensions, we can see this, but just how wide things would be in comparison to what, excuse my stomach, I did have breakfast, in comparison to what's there now. We also get measurements so that we know if some of these things are, how much wider they would be.
Yeah.
Just for our records.
There's so much nice detail on the building here,
Yeah, well, all that'll stay up there that you're looking at.
So our concern is that the new installation doesn't look like it's a completely different thing than the nice characteristics of the rest of it.
Yeah, on that corner there where the angle changes, we might end up, like I said, there's actually a 2-inch steel pipe on the inside there that you can't see.
Is that what's
for
on
weight
the
bearing?
Oh, right here.
On the inside of right
on
here.
the inside, I see.
On the inside, there's a steel pipe.
Right.
That they put in obviously for weight bearing purposes, which today,
Right, because of the.
So they would have something else to replace that? Is that what you're saying, or would that remain?
The 2-inch pipe?
Yeah.
Well, at this point, I don't know how to honestly answer that. I mean, it could end up, like I said, it's on the inside. That could end up being like a square tubing, or something. But it would be on the inside like it is now. You can't see it from the outside. But
the other thing I'm trying to understand in this mock-up is where is this piece right here? Is this mullion? Or is that the edge of the frame? In other words, I'm trying to understand how this translates into the 3 panes, right?
Yeah, well, obviously there'll be a third window. This is only 2 of the windows, so there'll be a third window, which is what, roughly, I think, 10 feet, is it?
I see. So those come together to form...
form what we're looking at.
So that's... Right. That's a major difference. I think that's... Okay, I see that
That's what I
now.
was talking about, getting the dimensions of how much space, for example, you have between the windows. What's there now.
Was the challenge that people said when they were developing this and looking at what we had,
Right.
is the structural strength when you have window panes the size that we have, that we're trying to duplicate.
Well, I think that's a great point. That will markedly change the appearance of this window, because now you've got pieces that are 3 or 4 inches. I'm not, again, just trying to identify what the concerns might be. And then crossways, I assume it would be a similar piece this way.
Because you're putting 2 windows together.
You're putting 2 windows together, right.
So it will look very different than the upstairs.
Sure.
I mean, it's going to be a much bulkier
Thick
look
mullions
than...
Yeah.
But, I mean, maybe that's, I don't know, completely custom, I don't know. And you're saying that with the modern glass, they need to have...
Well, it's heavier.
It's heavier, yeah.
Right.
The insulated glass is heavier, so it needs more structural.
Yeah, it's a double pane too, and obviously these are just single pane and have a ton of heat loss out of them.
Sure.
But like I said before, the issue is that back in the day, these wouldn't fly today as far as for strength, because there's very little. I mean, there's a ton of window there and very little frame.
Yeah, it's a 10 piece.
Well, they also have requirements. I mean, when
Safety.
somebody inside slips and falls into this, it could break.
Well, I think
they have tempered glass in that event.
Right.
And wind issues. And
I do think that this is a deviation from the current design, and I think any research that anybody in this room can do to maintain the strength and the integrity that you're talking about, at the same time trying to reduce the profile as much as possible, is desirable from the historic point of view.
And from the building's point of view, really. Because it's, it's the biggest windows on Lime Street, really, apart from here.
Right.
Probably.
So the glass, the framing, the materiality of the framing, and I mean, this might be what the industry can offer at this point. I don't know. So
What about
that is a significant departure.
I mean, don't we have some? Didn't we learn when we were discussing with them at the Children's Learning Center about some, credits, tax credits and things like this for these kinds of things? And it doesn't just mean a tax credit. It actually, you
get money.
You get money. They're exchanging, anyway, it's a complicated thing that even I don't understand, but I mean, there might be possibly some financial assistance because it's a historic project in a historic district. I mean, we could look at that.
Yeah.
Martha, do you have that information at hand?
It was that guy
from Mary.
Connecticut
Preservation, but also SHPO, the State Historic
I can
Preservation
find out if there's any kind of grant or support for, an upgrade for an energy efficient type window of this kind, because this is a custom thing.
Right.
It's not like, you can pick it out of a catalog and.
Right, and it's large. I mean, these are two large windows,
Right.
expensive windows, but they're also important windows.
It's in a historically important building and in a historically important district, so it'd be an easy argument to make from that perspective, I think.
And they must have had similar experience, SHPO and...
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, there are these credits for all over the place. It's just sometimes people don't bother because it's somewhat time-consuming.
Or don't know about it.
Or they don't know.
Well, they have for cemeteries.
Yeah.
Is this like through the state of Connecticut?
Yes.
It's called Preservation Connecticut is one, and they came and talked to us about another building, and then there's also State Historic Preservation. Are you familiar with that?
No, I'm not, but I dealt with the windows I put in last fall, the double hung, through the company I bought the windows through. They were supposed to, the state of Connecticut was supposed to be given a $100 rebate. Well, we're still working on that since last November.
Right. It's
yeah, good luck with that.
Trade-off kind of thing. Like
Yeah,
they help you with this, and then they get credit for other projects.
Yeah, well, this might, I know, it sounds like it's, another agency, but I just was saying, the state of Connecticut, you wouldn't even believe, every time I call, they go, well, what's your zip code?
Yeah, we would believe. but
yeah.
But a grant, we'd be looking for an actual grant, maybe, for these windows. And I know that you want to do this, and we're aware of the timeliness.
This other project, the folks were initially requiring that they tear down a structure because it had so much rot and rebuild. And we say, well, rebuilding is not going to maintain the historic character. And they ended up, because they went, got some grants apparently, deciding to repair, and it made up the difference. I mean, part of their reason was, well, we want to tear it down and rebuild because it's actually cheaper than repairing all this historical stuff. But it turns out that the repairing was cheaper because of the grants.
So let's maybe we can. Very done.
Very done, and with the Connecticut Trust,
which is now Preservation Connecticut.
Yeah, they keep changing.
Yeah, because that person, that young man that came, and you met with him at the cemetery, right?
Right.
Yeah.
He was very, very helpful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he's right up in East Haddam. He's up in East Haddam.
Do we have these pictures online, or we could scan them to send them up to Mary? See if
I do. I think I do have them.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, anything we can do, I mean, as far as keeping it, as close as possible.
Well, it would be wonderful if we could get a grant and have them really meet your needs for energy efficient and everything, and not, because they are really prominent, and when they change, it will be very noticeable relative to the rest of the building.
Right.
When all those proportions change. So.
Well, if you could send a feeler out about other material, and we'll
look at
it. See what we can find out about the possibility of getting money that, who knows, maybe you'll end up spending less than $15,000 if there's a grant.
Well, like I said, I mean, I don't know really where to go at this point, but, because like they've been working on that since March to try to come up with something, and we kept trying to get, as close as we could to this, and, that was about the best they could do as far as this company.
Right.
So these people also might have someone they work with, the Preservation Connecticut, but would it not maybe be useful to talk to the people that you have been working with and say, what if we were to do it custom to look like this?
Yeah.
What would it cost? Just so that you have a number.
I've already crossed that bridge. It's not there.
I mean, they can't do it.
With their
They
material.
say they can't do it at all.
Right.
Even in wood.
With their materials.
With what they offer.
And
Was there,
Right.
was
Oh,
there?
they're not the company that would do it.
Right, exactly.
It would
Right.
have to be a different construction
Yeah,
And, yeah,
than that, yeah.
okay.
yeah, that they just don't offer
That kind of work.
that. Well, yeah,
Right.
exactly.
Okay. Well, why don't we pursue the questions about possible grant sources and see, who knows, they may get in and say, "Look, you're gonna have to go with the new stuff," but they may have some funding for custom work
Yeah.
that would end up looking more like.
Yeah,
I think it's important enough to do it, to just go through the exercise.
I mean,
of trying.
this is what when I drive by, that's what I see.
That's true,
Night
yeah.
schools, that's,
Have
Yeah.
you spoken with someone like Skip Broom, who does,
my son works for Skip Room.
Oh, yeah?
Son's so,
Steve Hallahan is another.
What does your son say about this? What does he think?
well, not much more than what we've been discussing. I mean, it's
Tough one.
to do anything custom like that, it's 3 to 4 times the cost.
But cost aside, let's set that aside, let's just say if we could get state funding,
Right.
be curious if your son or Skip or somebody like that said, yeah, we can get pretty close to what this looks like, with a custom fabrication. That would be interesting to know.
It would be interesting to know that price, that
Yeah.
number,
Yeah.
when we talk to.
Right.
If they say it's $60,000 and you can get a $45,000 grant, then
It's a no-brainer, right? Yeah, well, and like I said before, I mean, it's finding who's gonna make these things, that's I think the chore, is who's willing to take that task on,
Right.
Well, there are people who, so I think Skip or
that kind of person?
or Steve Hallahan, I mean, they have a lot of experience with old, they specialize in old houses.
Historic.
Oh, yeah.
Trying to
Oh, yeah.
keep the look and.
Yeah, well, that's Skip's claim to fame. I mean, all the old post and beam and
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. He did
everything.
fine. So your son must do fine work then.
Yeah.
He does all his custom work.
All his custom, his wood, his wood.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
My
Cabinets.
son's got cutters for making all the old moldings and,
How interesting.
it just,
What's your son's name?
Same thing.
Charles Andromonte.
they have the same name.
Okay, yeah. I'm Charles too, my first name.
Yeah, there you go.
Andy, yeah.
Yeah.
All right, well, with
So
our
we have a little
marching orders
thing
are
to work
straight, we'll
with, yeah.
check with the state. You can
Yeah.
put a
I think
figure
it's-
out to see, okay, if we had to use AZEC, let's say.
Mhm.
But I imagine that we're still, Russ, gonna be faced with the wide lawn.
The question is how wide, right? Anything we can do to thin it
Yeah.
is an improvement.
Yeah.
But recognize, so this is an option that we'd have to consider, obviously. This is something that we'd have to, but is there another way?
Yeah.
It's worth it, to your point, Deanie, it's worth it to explore. But I guess the other factor here is your time. When are you wanting to do this before winter?
Wanted to, but,
Yeah.
like I said, they're in very, especially the one on the beauty shop, in very bad shape.
Rotted.
Yeah. I mean, years ago when we repainted them and stuff, we filled them, and this and that, but, they've gone beyond that now. Yeah. And, like I said, that's why I know that, building something exactly like that to put in that big space, you know what I'm saying?
Right.
It's,
Yeah, maybe we can get Andrew to get Skip down to take a look.
That would be really great.
Yeah.
And at least get an alternate opinion.
Yeah.
I'm not saying we can afford his prices, but.
No, but.
No.
If you could get it done to look the way it is,
right.
with a grant, is that acceptable?
Oh,
Well,
that's- yeah.
far acceptable. I mean,
Yeah.
the closer we could get it, I mean, I'm all for it, but getting to that point is,
Yeah, I understand. Yeah.
Yeah, we are.
like I said, because I've had, working on that since March, trying to get, down to small as you could make that big a unit. And like I said, that's what he came up with. Actually, it just came in last week.
Well, that is true. I mean, the thickness of that for an insulated glazing, that's a pretty thin piece right there.
Yeah, it is.
But it's still, at the same time, when you put it together,
right,
it's a significant departure from that, so.
Right, yeah, I don't know what else you could do. I mean, pretty hard to change that.
Well, we do have a long agenda still, so I think unless there are other new points today, it was a productive discussion. I mean, this is exactly why we're happy people can come in ahead of time rather than say, here's our new windows. Or even worse, put them in and then say, here are our new windows.
And I think it's important, I think we and the public really value this facade. You know,
We do. It's really wonderful.
It's a wonderful facade. So, and I mean, I think, you know, it's worth the consideration.
Yeah, I agree with that. I mean,
it's cool.
It's like I keep saying though, who are we going to find to build this thing? You know, that can do that kind of work still. You know.
Well, your son will know. There's somebody.
I don't know.
Yes.
All right.
I know, well, you know, most people, that was Clark's General Store back in the day.
Yeah.
Most people don't even know about that. I got pictures of the horse and carriage out front.
Yes.
It was Clark's son was the postmaster. And I got pictures of the carriage, the mail carriage, and the horse out front.
That's great.
That's so great, and that would be, I mean, if we get to the grant application process,
those photos would be helpful.
I have those pictures.
You got Alice Rogers, I don't know if you remember her or not. She had the bookstore there.
You do have
Martha remembers, okay.
This is a C of A.
Yeah, you know, so there's been a lot of history in that place.
You can't do it because it didn't have time to file for
right around 1890 something.
We couldn't.
I don't know, you remember Barbara Lineburner?
We have September 7th.
Yeah, she looked it up one time. It was 1890 something.
Until we have this.
I don't remember.
And what was the original use in 1890? Do you know?
So that it doesn't get denied.
General store and post office was built for that, yeah.
All right.
We got pictures, excuse me.
Sorry, go ahead.
No, I said we also have pictures of Alice Rogers, which had the bookstore there in front of the store when she, I think it was when she retired. They took her picture out front. And the building actually had awnings on the front of it back then.
Right.
In this picture, it had, I think they were a dark green and white awning, striped awnings. Yeah.
It was so hot. I mean, the trees now, maybe there's more shade.
Well, there were big trees out front there.
For the storm.
Yeah, big time, a long time ago, there were big trees. Somewhere I'd seen pictures of it, but
yeah, they were all lost with that.
Yeah, there's a lot of history. A lot of history in there.
I think I
have a technical.
Here it is. I have it.
I have a technical issue.
Yeah, no, those pictures of the.
You actually filed this, and we couldn't schedule a public hearing because we didn't have enough time to do the legal advertising. But we don't meet in August.
Right.
And so we have 60 days to approve or deny this. And there's hopefully findings that allow us to consider a different proposal. So if you are willing, what I would suggest is that you withdraw this. Otherwise, we have to have a denial on the record just because we're not sure we're going to approve this until we find out more. And we'll waive the fee for just coming in. It may be the same thing if our homework suggests that's the option, but it may be that you
would do that back.
All right. It may be that we would be
and then just resubmit it.
Filing a new one saying, yeah, we found ways to get mullions like this, and
we did. Right, we have to, well, he
Well,
just said.
it's your choice, but if you are willing to deny it, take your money back.
Withdraw it.
Submit for what, September?
Yes.
With just different
And if there are differences, then that would be in the new application. And if we've all done our homework and we say, no, this is it, we can stay in touch by email about what we find out from the state.
Yeah, well, like I said, the big problem is gonna be finding the someone that can.
Yeah, but the state also has a lot of resources in terms of knowing people who do
They do.
Restoration.
Yeah, I mean, this is what they do. That guy, Michael. Yeah.
So are you willing to proceed on that basis?
So I'm just going to put down here withdrawn pending
Yes, and we'll reflect it
information.
in the minutes.
Okay.
And you're gonna find out about the grant and whatever.
I'll copy you on those emails.
Okay.
I have your email address.
And if you need any of those pictures of the building previous, like the postmaster and all that, to prove it's historic.
That would probably really help.
Preservation.
On the submission.
Yeah, when you do submit, we'd love to see that.
Yeah.
Because part of what we do is approve things, and part of what we do is serve as a kind of resource collection point. So we've got files on different buildings.
I have a question. It has nothing to do with this, but I have pictures at home that are family pictures of my grandfather's garage, which was at the face of Knutson Road, and my great-uncle's garage, which was Elmer Blackwell across the street, of all that stuff from way back, because my grandfather, he built all the houses on Knutson Road. Okay. And how he acquired that land was he swapped a Model A, right, for it, and he got Knutson Road and Sunset Drive, so I have pictures that I don't know what to do, they're family photos, but, I know the historic district being in,
but that's not in the historic district.
But the historic
yes.
society, how,
You have two options of places that would love the Florence Griswold Museum has the Lyme Historical Society archives, which covers Lyme and Old Lyme, and that's a very extensive connection. And then also the Old Lyme Historical Society has some pictures, I think more, well, they probably have pictures and documents too.
The Florence Griswold, I think, has an archive that's more accessible to the
public. Unfortunately, one of our other, Carolyn Wakeman, who's on this commission, is not here today, but she's very involved in historic work, and she would be able to advise you.
Okay.
Yeah, maybe we can email Carolyn and ask, just copy, and she'll reply.
If I have these things, and it's part of the history of town.
Oh, great.
They'd like to have.
We gave some things to my family to the museum, and the other advantage is that they're a museum, so it's all climate controlled and preserved.
Preserved, yeah.
All of that. They treat it like their art collection. So.
Yeah, there's a lot of stuff out there. It just never makes it to the right places,
Yeah.
I have pictures. You might have remembered in Lyme. Remember Oscar Sterling?
Yeah, we have pictures.
And Edna?
Yeah.
Well, he was a magician.
Yeah.
And she was an actress. Really? Yeah.
At Sterling City Road?
Yeah.
Oh.
And I have pictures. I have a picture of them. It was 8 by 12 or whatever it is, of Oscar and Edna Sterling. And they've been gone for 50 years.
See, that'd
be so interesting.
That would be more interesting to the museum, because the Old Lyme Historic just is dealing with stuff in Old Lyme.
Right.
The Lyme has all the limes.
Right.
Lime, Old Lime, part of East Lime.
Yeah.
That's Florence Griswold.
Yeah.
And Lime Public Hall, too. They were
Yeah.
interested.
Yeah.
For stuff that's purely up in Lime. But anyway, Carolyn, why don't we put that on Martha's list? Carolyn is one of the most knowledgeable people in town about,
The historic.
various options.
What's her last name?
Carolyn Wakeman?
Wakeman?
You probably met her here the last year when we
She
were here,
did.
I think.
She wrote that book, The Charm of the Place. She's
And-
written
And
so much.
she's the president of the Cemetery Association, Ed's the vice president.
Oh, yeah.
And herself a descendant of people who have been here for a long time, so she,
Yeah,
Huntley, yeah.
Her dad was a postmaster for years and years in town.
Yeah, she said her...
And didn't she quilt upstairs it's your building?
Well, that would be the building.
This is the building.
yeah.
So that's
Well,
the building.
that's the postmaster, where he was the
Yeah.
postmaster's out of...
That's the building.
Yeah,
She's
your
very
building.
interested in your
So
building.
she'd be very interested.
Because the quilts, she had 2 family quilts in the exhibition that was at the museum last year, a wonderful exhibition of quilts and textiles in the Connecticut River Valley. And she said that her grandmother, great-grandmother, worked it right in the upstairs of your building.
Mm.
That's where she created the quilt.
Yeah, yeah.
Such an interesting connection. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, well, we have to...
Thanks, yes, we have...
Yeah.
Thank you, Charles.
Still have Fowler.
Right.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay.
And we're really running late.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Have a good day.
Thank you for bringing in the sample.
Yeah, well,
Good, yeah.
I thought it would help, but, I mean, I understand your point.
It did, yeah.
It does help, because we can
Yeah,
visualize
visualize it, yeah.
look like.
I know, he says, well, it's $300, he says, and then when you buy the windows, we take the $300 off.
Oh, you had to buy the sample?
Oh, yeah, they don't give away anything
You should get that for half price, because it's half a window.
Yeah. I don't think that'll go over too big. But anyway, okay, thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you. Martha, what do we do with the check when it's been denied, like for Graybill? I send it back to him? Just keep it? or-
No,
Gray bills?
we waive it for the next time.
Yeah.
So we keep it and waive it?
What's the date on it?
4/27.
The bank won't cash it after.
Send it back.
Yeah.
I'll do it.
Okay. Fowlers,
So now-
Danny, you and Carolyn did the site walk on that, is that
I
right?
did, I had it. We did. I'm just trying to find the... Do you have it, Martha? I had it.
I don't have the...
Nick Fowler.
Well, no. I actually have, I have the
Graybill.
It's over
Was
there.
it just, is it in the, it's in the former months?
We've been last month.
Okay, that's where it is.
I'm gonna run out for a minute.
Okay.
Right?
Oh, the cord. That's the word about that.
Just stand there for 1 second. Yeah. Good.
Okay, here's Fowler. I've always thought that was a problem, actually, ever since we first started doing.
We need a hole in the middle of the table.
We should mention that to Tim.
Tim, yeah.
Okay, here's this. And this is dated 5/19, 6/19, 7/19, so we're almost in our time frame here too. Okay, so we're going to send it, I'm going to send this back to Graybill.
Yeah.
With the whole, I'll keep the application, I don't know, I'm getting swamped with the
Okay, in fact, I think Graybill, the first, I mean, he filed a C of A, usually what we have done is we cash the check when it's filed, and if he wants to, if we denied and he wants to reapply for the same related project, we just waive the fee the next time.
I don't know, it's a check
Right.
dated,
I mean, you would know more, Martha, but I thought that's what we have done in the past.
I think we have done that,
Right.
but it doesn't happen very often, that's why it's not.
The forefront of our minds. Yeah.
Yeah. The check from April.
Yeah.
You know, if we cash the check, if we submit the check, then the message is, oh yeah.
we're moving forward.
Yeah.
Well, we have
That's what I think so.
But if I would have a tendency to send it back.
Okay.
Because I think it's a little too tangled, his issue.
That's fine. Let's just do it that way.
Are you all right, Ed?
I am. Oh.
This is really, it is a hazard, having that.
Cord
The
right there.
Cord
the
there.
appropriate answer is, I'll tell you tomorrow morning
Right, well,
if I can get out of bed.
A little
or not.
scuffed up, but that's okay.
Okay, so Fowler's.
Okay,
And
so,
Martha, you're going to take care of returning the check, or?
I can mail that back.
Oh.
I'll write a letter and mail it back to him.
I mean, and maybe Deanie and I could take a look at at what you propose sending him, because it's a little touchy.
put down here.
Some of George's comments will be in the meeting notes.
Just a very basic.
Yeah.
I'm gonna put here, returned check.
Okay. Is there anyone on the phone?
Return check.
All right, we're moving on to
Fowler.
6 Lime Street, Fowler.
Okay. Carolyn and I did do a sidewalk, and both sides of the house have issues. I'll talk about the easiest one first, which is the south-facing one, the side of the house that looks at Ferry Road. And there are, I think, 4 split systems that are installed right up close to the side of the house, about midway along the side. They don't come right up to the front of the house. And then just a little further out into the garden is a generator. So, in our opinion, those can easily be screened. So they're not here to discuss what it was. So I don't know where they are on their thinking about it, but we met with Andy King, who is the builder, the contractor there that's going to do it, and he had suggested upright pickets to mimic the picket fence that surrounds the whole property.
For screening.
For screening.
Yeah.
Right. So,
Because their original application talked about the white lattice.
I know. So, but in the conversation, he said maybe it would be better with pickets, and we haven't heard anything else. We still just have
Well,
that.
her email referred to pickets.
Right, she said maybe that, so.
Would the spacing between the pickets be the same as fence?
Questions that need to,
That's
yeah.
pretty wide.
Would it be high enough to shield the?
Right.
Well, they'd have to be higher. It would have to be something like what they did at LYSB, those slats.
Or higher and closer.
Mm-hmm.
Or have evergreen screening.
Based on some of our other experiences with the evergreen screening, I think if it were me, I might rather have it be screened with lattice or something, because at least then it's a neat look along the side of the house instead of you don't know whether you're going to water the plants or. So that's that side of the house. The south side of the house, I think, can be managed with appropriate screening.
Mm-hmm.
The generator that kind of sits, there's a little semicircular garden space that goes off the side. And that the generator is sort of right in...
Off the south side?
Off the south side. Kind of, if the house is, the side of the house is here, the split systems are all here, and then there's a kind of a circular, and then there's a generator just right in the middle of that garden.
Mm-hmm.
So that could be boxed in with, say, green lattice, or it could be screened with plantings.
So that's separate from the 4...
And there are photographs here. Here. So there's a lot of, can't quite see. Well, you can sort of see.
right.
Would that all be behind one fence, or?
I have the new photos.
How far is the generator
What's
off
this?
to the house? Is it out in the middle?
Okay. It is
The generator?
west side of the street.
Well, we do ask, the question was how, I'm trying to reflect for the record, how far the generator is off the house. We don't know for sure.
Well, let's just stick with
The C of A application does require
These are
measurements and distances from buildings and walkways, so.
Okay. Here's what this is the north side, so we're not talking about that right now. Right now, we're talking about this. These are the old ones, where there were no systems. And, okay. This is the condition now. If you can sort of see, I don't actually have the generator. Here's the generator. So these are all lined up here.
Yeah,
See how-
I know. That.
Where are they on this?
That's it
Right back
here.
in here,
That's
right
it.
along the edge.
That's it, right?
Oh,
That's
so
one.
this is a ways out?
So this sits in this garden that's a ways
Gotcha.
out.
Gotcha.
So, and this was just a photo he probably made to try and show us what it would look like
All right.
screened. So this side of the house can be screened.
Okay.
Okay.
But we have questions about...
We have questions, but this side of the house can be effectively screened.
I see the HVAC units. I'm a little bit concerned about the generator. Just like it's out in the middle of the yard.
It's sort
You
of...
put a box on it?
It's sort of in this garden bed,
Okay,
so that needs to be screened.
yeah. That, I agree. But
It could be more of, it sits fairly close to, it's sort of right here.
But
But
it's a separate, so there's two screenings. There would be a screening
Two
here.
screenings.
And then another screen, or a box
And
around.
Yeah.
Ed's question was whether you could screen with all the same.
And I think it would probably be too massive.
It's too big.
much too massive to do one huge
Yeah,
thing
yeah,
of screening.
right.
But I think it would be useful to do the screenings the same.
Yes, yeah.
I mean, whatever screen is on the edge of the house should also be in the
Right.
generator, just to keep it visually.
Right.
And I know just from my generator, I had to put up a fence to enclose the pool stuff and generators there, and I had to make sure that the front of the generator was accessible for service. I'm not sure which way that generator opens up, but if it's a three-sided fence and the opening is toward the house, you wouldn't be concerned about that.
I think it would have to be towards the house because the garden, I'm not sure they would have had
Yeah.
you know what I mean?
Yeah, I
The
do.
walk.
But it doesn't have to be
But it would be
fully
helpful
enclosed.
to have them here.
So one side needs access,
Yeah.
technically, either with a gate or in a completely open scenario. Yeah.
But you wouldn't see it if it were on the side facing the house. In other words,
Right, sure.
I think this can be handled. Our problem
Okay.
is the other side of the house,
Okay.
is the north side.
It's right on the facade.
Right by the corner.
Right at
At the front corner.
And also not straight.
What did she say?
That's not straight.
Yeah.
So, we talked to the carpenter about that, and it's a very similar situation to Sacrestano.
Yeah.
Because it's right on the edge.
It's on the facade.
And asked if it could be moved back.
Right.
It could be moved back. There's a window there, so it can't go under the window, but it could go beyond that. But then the owner, who was also not there for our site walk, but he told us this, that there's steps going in. This is sort of, do you see the steps?
Right.
Going into the house. That's their front door, so to speak.
So that's
Because
right
their
by their
front,
steps to their front door?
well, it's not now, because it's right on the edge. But if you move it back,
Right, but that looks like it's blocking the left half of the steps.
it's
But
not.
there's a distance
There's a
there.
space, okay.
And we would be pushing it closer to the step.
But if
Yeah.
if our request
Right.
is to push it back,
With
then
screening.
it really is almost right at those steps.
Right.
Yeah.
So you would then have to change the paving, which isn't unsurmountable going in, but it does sit back very close up to the steps. And so then you'd screen it, but then you're cutting off,
The egress
yes.
And it can't go on the other side of the steps.
on the backside. Yeah.
Well, it's not servicing that part of the house.
This all gets down to what's the actual distance that these units can tolerate with their piping. And it depends on the unit and the manufacturer and
This looked like it could be dealt with, this side, before the stairs. It looked as
Is
if,
this the front of the
yes,
house?
Front of
this
the
is the
house,
front
yeah.
of the house.
I know, John.
The front of the house.
Yeah.
So,
It's unfortunate.
this is very similar to,
Sacrestano?
Yeah.
I mean, it just looks, yeah. So I don't,
Is there a possibility?
there is a permit, there was a permit,
For this?
Yeah. They found all the permits.
yeah.
They found,
Without the historic district. 'Cause this is
Yeah.
in the time when,
Is it 19? That one, Wendy Brainerd, it was I think that's 19, Martha, isn't it? That permit?
7/29/19.
Yeah. She's getting ready.
It's horrible.
Yeah.
And what's on the other side of these?
Just more house. But I don't think that this services,
we don't know. We don't
Depends on
know.
the-
what I do know is that there's a huge staircase right on the other side of these steps, the interior staircase.
No, but it's just a pipe. That's the thing, is these units, these are condensing units, so it's just a small copper pipe, right? That feeds it. It's not.
So it would have to
Unless
go
it's
up
duct-
over the stairs?
Or
duct-
underneath.
just under the stairs?
So,
Right.
Well, we
right.
need to talk about that, investigate that.
Right, that's not in other words, the mechanical contractor has to come back and say that in other words, if we pick a location that's not the front facade, they would need to come back and say technically what's not possible.
Right.
And then
So,
we can decide based on that.
so how do we want to? We have a time constraint on this too, because this is 7.
Is it one C of A that we're being asked to?
For all of this.
For all?
Okay. I mean,
She
I
has
think
her permit.
we have questions that need answering.
I think we need to speak to the owner
We
and not
need,
just to the
but
carpenter.
today we need to approve or deny, otherwise it's automatically approved.
Oh,
Right, because of the time.
So I think we need to treat this similarly to Grayville and ask for more information.
Is the C of A proposing screening of it in the front corner location?
It just says, continuing to add relocate plant material to further screen views.
How are they proposing to screen it?
I
Put
don't know.
picket fencing around it.
Both sides?
On this front one too?
Yes. Yes. I mean, if we told them we wanted them to put an arborvitae there, they'd do that too, but I think they're planning on screening it with lattice or pickets.
Right.
I think the first thing we need to do is to find out if it's feasible to move it to the other side.
I think so.
You have to do what we did with Sagrestano. It's the same, to me, it's the same scenario.
Sure.
It's exactly the same scenario.
Okay.
We've set a precedent, and I think we have to follow.
I mean, we've had this with Jones and Sagrestano and...
Right.
In this case, she has her permits, so it doesn't.
And she doesn't have a historic district commission C of A approval. And that's that's our job. What that means and what happens with that, I don't know.
She didn't put it in, for the record.
What?
This owner,
Oh, this is prior?
yes.
Got it.
It was put in just before it was sold.
Yep.
To help sell it, to have air conditioning.
Probably.
Oh, so this is not the person that put the
No.
system in?
Yeah. That makes it tough.
That makes it harder.
It does tough. But we have to be consistent. It's
We want
the
it
same.
approved by the town.
Yeah.
I mean, that makes it really tricky because...
She has her permit. I mean, they have their
She
permit.
has her building permit.
With Sagrestano, we didn't have, they wouldn't give him the permit.
I don't understand why the building department can't have on their form a little question. Are you in the historic district? Yes, no. If yes, have you received
That should go on Eric.
permission from the Historic District Commission?
So, I guess the question in this case, do we need to talk to Eric, or, in other words, to say that there's a permit that doesn't have a historic district approval on it, it should have had it?
Well, what Eric's going to say is that they should have come to the Historic District, so.
If he wasn't the
I mean,
CEO.
the fact that a form doesn't say you need to go to Historic District is
Yeah, I understand.
material, but Ed's right. The problem is it wasn't her.
Right. Well, this goes back to almost like to the Grayville thing. Just because there's something that was on the property before and it may or may not have met the historic district requirements, I don't know. That doesn't, in other words, I feel like we're here to weigh on what's in front of us. Not necessarily how much history do we go back. We're here to assess what's in front of us. What's in front of us is something that clearly doesn't comply with historic characteristic of the district.
And
Is
the
a
reason
mechanically-
we have this is because we solicited it.
Right. Right. So now, it could be that we say, let's go ahead and approve. Can we do a conditional, can we approve the work on the other side?
We don't know what it's going to be. We don't know how wide the pickets are.
Then we need more
We
information.
don't know the material of the proposed
Okay,
pickets.
then we need to request that.
So how are we going to do that? In a letter from Martha?
Well, I
Or how are we going to communicate with Liz Fowler that, where we are on this?
I think we should, my opinion, deny it, and as with Grable, send a letter, and you and I can look at it, but I would be as specific as possible. Here's what we need. We need to know definitely if you're using pickets, if so, what's the material, can we see a sample, what's the spacing, what's the height, what's the drawing going to look like? And for the front, for the one on the north side, we say we have a strong policy against having generators in front of or flush with the
Aligned
front
with
of a house. We've been working back and have 2 occasions where people were forced to move them.
My feeling is we can work with the south side of the house.
Right.
Right. And not be requesting any moving of mechanical. Right, on the south side of the house.
Yeah.
Our strong concern is with the north side of the house, where it's
a line.
Frankly, it looks like a sloppy installation, really, and it's very, very visible on a very historic house.
Yes. You want to take a crack, Martha, at drafting something, and Deanie and I will look at it.
So it worked out well with the Joneses to outline exactly in writing what we needed to move forward with that, because then that's what they did. So
to be specific in what we want, because most of these people just want to get these things done.
Yeah.
Right.
And she, I think that's where Fowler is, and understandably.
Well, and I think you say in the letter, you say, we request alternate locations for the north unit that it's not in alignment with the front facade.
That's very good wording. Not in alignment with the front facade of the house.
Right. And I think it reinforces that, and that we're okay working with the others that are not in alignment with the front facade.
I think that's
of the
our
house.
trade-off.
Yeah. And let them figure out with their mechanical folks what the possibilities are, considering the other constraints that they have. Where would they accept it moving to, and what is mechanically possible? They figure that out. But our request is that it's not aligned with the front facade of the house, which is exactly what we told Secretary.
Okay.
We never saw HDC. I mean, we would have known.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, so this
Move
is
on.
denied.
So is there a motion concerning this matter?
I make a motion that we deny the C of A as submitted.
Is there a second?
Second.
And seconds? Further discussion? None? All in favor of the motion to deny?
Aye.
Aye. Unanimous. Okay, we're just about wrapped up. And so hopefully we can proceed expeditiously. The open items are communications and correspondence. First.
So communications, they did send a letter to Claudia Weicker about submitting the like for like. Instead of, we approved the C of A for her fence because there were some changes, but then they made the changes, the installer put in the exact same thing. So now we want her to fill out the like for like.
She's been otherwise occupied.
Sure.
And we also got a letter from George Cannabis about the Graybill shed.
Right.
So
You had a letter that there was something in here too. Probably the same thing.
Yeah. So that's taken care of. And we also got an email from Kevin Cole about the program event article concerning the old A&P. Which is very interesting.
That would be neat if we could put in a photo with the correction.
Yeah.
And Carolyn did reply to that.
Have you
she
acknowledged him just to send a thank you?
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
Thanks.
Carolyn said she will check the A&P location and let Martha know so that she can respond to Kevin Cole.
Yeah,
So she'll be back to you on that.
I'll have something for the events it'll be about the boxwoods.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Did you say the deadline was the end of the month?
Yeah, I have,
Well, I'll get it to you.
Or shoot it to Deanie and me.
Okay.
Too.
Yeah.
There was, I actually wrote it not long ago, maybe a couple of years ago, on the Florence Griswold Museum History blog, an article about old inns in town, and there's a couple paragraphs about the Boxwood.
It was a school, girls' school.
Yeah. That's what I read Carolyn's
I
post on
think
that.
Carolyn has written about that. I was
School,
writing
yeah.
more about the time that they were inns, but after it was a school. But
They have a water problem
certainly
now.
Carolyn knows a lot about it.
Wasn't our Johnny, wasn't my house an inn for a while, or White Farms Inn?
Absolutely, that's in the blog
It was
also.
also, yeah.
And now the Cox House is an inn.
Just something I noticed on the street, and maybe it could be addressed in the lighting regs. The Wikers post signs were on the other day, and would you consider some aspect of the regulation to say that those kind of lights really should be off during the day?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, in terms of
Well, we
time.
discussed those lights, remember?
Well,
Were you-
aside from the lights she has, but it brought to mind the idea that
Oh, you mean the post,
any
yes. Yeah.
lights that face the street, should they be on during the day?
I don't know that we can regulate that.
Well,
We can,
We can include it
more
in our lighting.
That's not really
it's for the lighting.
Include it with
related
our
to-
lighting.
Yeah.
It's
Mhm.
not really related to signs, but
Mm-mm.
when we come to lighting, we can certainly discuss timers, that they have to come on at dusk and be off by,
Right.
Let's look at, see what
midnight.
Their lights are on all night, like the Cooley Gallery, those lights are on all night.
let's see what the regulations say
Yeah,
about it.
yeah. And the village shop lights on all night.
Okay, that's for the future.
Yeah.
Okay, co-chairs report.
I think I was going to talk about the survey. I have some questions to ask Martha on ownership of things. So given our time, shall we just leave that for the next meeting?
Okay.
I mean, what I can say is that we've completed the survey. The new photographs have been taken and filed. I have a spreadsheet here of every address on Lime Street, sort of status with some action. We're doing pretty well. I'll say that many of the things that we flagged during our strolls last year, we have addressed. There are 2 or 3 that we haven't. So, but it could take a little while to go through this. So shall we leave it?
Yes.
I think.
Yeah, if we can clarify as much as you can with Martha. And then
I will, yeah.
Okay. And my reminders, one of the 2 trash can issues we dealt with today. The other is the Audubon. So, I don't know how to approach that. Didn't we send them a gentle reminder at one point?
For the sign?
For the trash?
It was a verbal.
A verbal
Mm-hmm. To Claudia.
Who's the executive director?
Alicia Millardo is her name.
All right. Do you want to send a note to Alicia? Thank you. Edie Twining is going to come to the September meeting to talk about Halls Road intersection with the historic district.
Mm-hmm. Great.
And the last thing I had was just a reminder about our special meeting, which is on August
21?
21? Okay. And I'll have a draft of a set of policies to circulate before then, and Russ will have some language about lighting.
Yeah.
And that leaves New business, do you know where the sign should be moved to that we can communicate
My
to
understanding
Tim?
of where, Martha, you know, you and Carolyn sort of picked up this ball.
Behind the fence.
If you're looking at the house, and there's a fence, so behind the fence, and sort of to the left, sort of in front of the first of the veranda.
I think on the other side of the driveway, so that it's more,
Oh, is that where?
so that you can see it, but it's not like,
You mean on the church side of the driveway? I thought it was more in front.
inside the fence is not the church property.
I know.
What's the address?
It's 2 Lime Street.
Hold on. We have it right here.
Oh, you have a picture?
We do.
All right.
I mean, let's see. That's the side, front. So Martha, you're saying, so my understanding was that it was going to go sort of here. You're thinking it's on the other side of the driveway. Okay, and has Holly agreed to that? And
We need to go and talk to Holly, and just, because Tim said before they move the sign, they want it marked
I understand.
on grass, like with spray paint or stake or something like that.
So Carolyn maybe knows, or do you know? Or I sort of lost track of what was happening around that. Did you speak to Holly?
I told her that we need to move the sign,
Yeah.
and we want to put it behind the picket fence.
And she was fine with that.
She's okay with that. But we definitely I need to go down there and,
Okay.
Is it intrusive for the public to come read the sign?
we want it to be close enough to the fence so that they could be on the green and read the sign. That's why I think we don't want it up close to the house.
Okay.
Yeah.
I thought, in my mind, the way it was left was that it was going sort of right in here. But maybe that's wrong. Because that's on this side of the driveway.
Well,
So
Depends on what she likes. I mean,
we just don't know that yet.
can we communicate to Tim that within
Yes.
X number of days, there will be a mark on the ground?
Yes.
At the roughly
Let's try it.
southeast corner of the property or wherever it's going,
when is the White Elephant sale over?
Saturday.
Okay, so we could, I'm sure, figure it out next week.
Yeah. Let's do that. Tell Tim. I can go tell Tim or Katie, whoever I can find. By next Wednesday, we will have a location.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Great. Deanie and I should, if somebody else wants to do it, check on the current status of town forms, noting the need for HDC approval. I think the zoning forms were revised,
Yeah.
but I'm not sure the building or like generator permit forms have been revised. And thank you, Ed, for agreeing to do a column. Now, the boxwood is, what's the relationship to our work?
Well,
In other words, the first one had something about the commission and what it did, and then little interesting facts.
well, this is, my thought was that to inform people of the history of the boxwood, you drive by this pile of bricks behind the privet hedge, and a lot of people don't get the history that it was built as a house, it was added on to.
I think it's fascinating. I don't think one person has ever visited my house when they haven't asked what that building was across the street.
I'm just thinking of maybe just one or two sentences saying, although, the town is primarily, the historic district is primarily useful, there are a variety of uses, including a few long-standing shops and nonprofits, and also a condominium. The Boxwood is a exemplary in terms of how this can fit into the historic character of the community. Just that sort of tie into what we do now, and then do the history. And
Carolyn,
the Boxwood has a fascinating history, and it would be great, I think, if we could have a picture of it too.
Yeah, I think Carolyn did an article on that. You know that in the blog, in the Florence Griswold blog. She did a whole piece on Boxwood, and it's very interesting.
Ed, I'll send you the link to her piece and to my piece on Inns, just so.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think that would be a wonderful article with everyone walking. Everyone's curious about it. And of course I guess it was probably a condominium before the zoning changed on Lime Street. Before 1971, it probably had apartments.
Yeah. But wasn't there a story about somebody who was murdered with a jar of pickles?
Yes.
What happened? The pickle
I
murder?
didn't hear about the pickles, but that's in my blog article.
Oh, really?
About somebody being murdered and
Another interesting thing, I'm just thinking out loud here, that it's a unique material and facade. And in other words, as the Historic District Commission, we're looking at historic architecture, material, and it's unique amongst all the other buildings on the district. That's brick. Right. Is there any other?
I'm trying to think.
That's the only brick, right?
The only brick.
So,
Library.
The library, right. So there might be something interesting, again, like a firehouse. There you go. Just a one sentence.
Modern buildings.
that's true.
Firehouse is.
Firehouse.
And when was this?
And when was this built, Boxwood?
1840.
Wow, so that's very, right.
By a Griswold.
Okay, so in other words, there's interesting, to me, the fact that it stands out in its architectural character, materiality, yet it's a key part of the historic district amongst other buildings that are wood clapboard and style. Something along those lines that ties to what we do on a daily basis could be interesting as an idea.
I'll try to integrate all of it.
Yeah, just
The challenge is going to be there's a lot of history. You've got to condense it to,
I know.
what's the word limit?
150 words, I don't know.
It's more than that. That was a long article. We had a whole big, in that current.
Oh, yeah. But we were up
It's not
to.
just 150 words.
No, I'm kidding.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Okay. Are we done?
Mm-hmm.
Motion to adjourn?
I'd make a motion.
So.
Second. Ed
Aye.
seconds. All in favor?
Aye.
We're adjourned.